Kailangan isa-isa. Good afternoon po sa inyong lahat. Sir Franco, nakamute ka.
Ako. May pa-effect pa yung entrance natin. So magandang hapon sa ating mga teachers. And good afternoon sa mga co-admins ko, Sir Jambi, Sir Jalo, and Teacher Pao. Magandang hapon po.
Hello po, everyone.
Magandang hapon.
And, parang afternoon kasi siesta time. Actually, mga teachers natin nagrereklamo kanina, ang init daw sa sa areas nila. Natawa teachers dito rin.
Sobrang init.
Although ngayon medyo makulimlim ng konti at mukhang uulan, pero overall mainit, no. Kahit yung buga ng electric fan, mainit.
Actually, Sir Franco, in other places ata parang kanina or baka hanggang ngayon, confirm nyo na lang po mga kaagapay, umuulan, malakas yung ulan.
Sa ibang yan. At I think that's good, no? Sana medyo tuloy. Although wag naman yan yung problema sa Pilipinas, no? It's either sobrang init o sobrang daming ulan. So, either matutuyo ka or babahain ka. Yun lagi yung walang gitna, no? Walang gitna sa Pilipinas. Yan. But anyway, teachers, we're hoping na kahit po mainit at very uncomfortable yung mga environment sa atin ngayon. Hopefully, you could still join us. Please do share our link, no, so that we could invite more people to benefit from our session for today. So, and for those who are here, maraming salamat and good afternoon sa inyong lahat. No? Sir Jambi, maybe we could begin with some greetings, no? I'll be just exiting the stream for some technical Go ahead, Sir Jambi.
Ayan, sige. Mabilis lang. Ayan, unahin natin syempre. Alam nyo ba kanina, Teacher Pao at Sir Jello, pagkapasok ko pa lang ng stream, ang dami-dami ng comments. So again, may sobrang dami na namang mas nauna sa akin. So,
so 1:36 pa lang meron na.
Meron na.
Unahin natin ko si Sir Orlando A. Joven Jr. Good afternoon daw. From SDO Pasig Santa Lucia High School. Good afternoon din po kay Miss Maria Nenita Lucero, and of course kay Sir Alex Javier Alvarez watching from Kidapawan City. Magandang hapon po.
Yes, si Sir Franco Nicolo Adun, batiin natin watching from the background.
Yes, Sir.
Active yan si Sir Franco.
Si Sir Franco sa chat. Very active yan. Yan. Good afternoon din kay Ma'am Yolanda Iya. Sir Eric Mercader from hindi, yan pala sabi niyo. Sobrang init ng panahon, mga teachers. Don't forget to hydrate always. Yung tipong lalabas ka, kunwari galing ka sa isang medyo mas malamig na lugar, so lumabas ka, grabe, ayaw mo nang lumabas. Sobrang init talaga. Yan. And then Miss Carmela Haen and Miss Marisa Gumabong, always. Yan. Sir Jello?
Okay. Good afternoon din kay Ma'am Catherine Joy Atienza, kay Ma'am Mary Jane Katubay, kay Sir Wilson, good afternoon, kay Sir Arnie Pagulayan, and Sir Manny Romeroso. Good afternoon.
Ayan, binabati din natin Sir Jello and Miss Pao, Teacher May pala, May Mendoza. Binabati rin natin si Miss Joanne Awingan. Sabi niya, looking forward to learning new strategies to help me as a teacher. Kami rin po, we're looking forward.
Yes.
And, grabe.
Kay Miss Regina Generoso, Jean Ramos.
Special yan. Shout out ko yan. Shout out yan si Ma'am.
Yan. Ay, nako. You are in for a treat.
A treat, yes.
Mga niyo po yung pinakahuling part, lalong-lalo na yan. Wag po kayong bibitaw. Hindi kayo magsisisi. I-record nyo po ito kung gusto nyo. Palabas nyo sa buong community.
Balik ako observation niya to.
Ito na yun.
kasama.
Balik kasi sa pagtuturo no. Yan. Si Miss Jean Ramos, Miss Elda Gonzalez, Miss Susana Caranto from SMR. Ano yung SMR? Summer ba yan? Hindi ko masyado sure. Tapos si Miss Excel Villa Flores. Uy, pangalan pa lang yan, no? Excel.
Yes.
Villa Flores.
Excel.
Microsoft agad.
Diba?
Ayan, good afternoon din kay Sir Ernesto Abarte from Binyan City, Laguna, from Miss Gemma. I think it's Sir Jazen Noel Sanchez, Ma'am Rose Malen. Ayan, parating yan. Everyday present yan sa ating mga webinar. Si Ma'am Gemma, Ma'am Lisay, Ma'am Lorena, and Sir Joseph Odelon Hermitano.
Ayan, good afternoon po sa inyong lahat. Also watching from Bacoor, Cavite City, si Miss Nats Feriol. Good afternoon din po, Shalom Santiago. Good afternoon everyone, sabi ni Miss Manolita White. And ayan, totoo, magandang mainit na hapon po sa ating lahat from Miss Mia Maria Casilang. Ay, naku, mainit.
Yan. Si Miss Paula, yan, kapangalan ko pa, oh. Si Miss Paula Acosta.
Siguro, Paula May Acosta din.
Nilagyan ng pangalan. si Miss Glory V. Aksalan from Bungabong Oriental, Mindoro. At from Davao City naman, so palipad-lipad tayo, Miss Maria Ana Fe Sumalino. Yeah. Ay, ito hinihintay ni Teacher Franco. Si Miss Mako nandito.
Nakita ko nga nakita ko. Hindi naman ako ibubuking yan ni Teacher Mako. Close kami yan. Di ba, Teacher Mako, wala kang sasabihin sa kung ano man ang nakikita mo ngayon, Teacher Mako. But it was nice, no? It was nice gracing the commencement exercises and moving up ceremony ng Alzira de Sausa College, no? So, hi to Teacher Mako. Most possibly, nandito rin si Sister Mau, no? Who's always watching as well. From Alzira de Sausa College as well. Napayap si Teacher Mako ng all caps. So alam na yan ni Teacher Mako, no? Yan. So yan, thank you, maraming salamat, no, admins and teachers, no. We'll continue the greetings later. Medyo madami, no, at bumubuhos ulit yung ating mga greetings, no, parang ulan. Pero siguro to continue and to start na rin, no, to jumpstart our session for today, may ask Teacher Pau, okay, to explain, no, ano ba yung idea, bakit ang title natin for today ay Fail Forward?
Okay.
Fail.
Oo nga, ito ba yun? Bakit naman fail forward? Okay. So sa pagkakaalala po, no, so it's part of our package this May. This is actually a season ender. And part of a season ender, syempre, is a time we are on the timeline na patapos na, no? So every end of the school year, we always try to see and reflect, no, what happened, what transpired within the year, especially this school year, no? This is very new to us. This is our first year of distance learning. So what we have mentioned, no, yung fail forward na yan, na-quote natin yan from one of our webinars before. Kasama natin, I think, si Miss Bonnie Chalet. Tama? Di ba? From US talaga na merong concept kasi of failing forward. You know, when you fail, you just don't let it, consume you, no? When you fail forward because the next step is really to move on. And so, we have, at the end of the school year, we always have this evaluation tool. But this school year, since it's very, very new, this is the first time most probably that we are going to be evaluating how distance learning actually works. No, every year naman, no, meron tayong evaluation end of the school year. Pwedeng teachers, sinasagutan ng parents, sinasagutan ng students, no. But what is new to us? And that will be our discussion for today. How do we evaluate the effectivity maybe or the whole implementation of distance learning in the Philippines, no? So that's our main goal for this afternoon. No, so Sir Jambi, ikaw, anong masasabi mo sa ating title for today?
Yes, I look forward to failing.
Look forward.
It's part of my presentation din po mamaya na yun nga. Feeling ko naman kasi walang hindi nag-fail na yung taon. 'Di ba? Kumbaga sobrang swerte niyo naman kung you had a perfect year. 'Di ba? Pero gaya
Yeah.
nga ng sabi ni Teacher Pau, ang mahalaga ay gamitin natin siya to move forward. So looking forward din kami. We expect to fail din po today, pero we expect that our failure will help all of us move forward.
Yan. Thank you. Maraming salamat, no, Teacher Pau and Teacher Sir Jamin for clarifying that. And of course, as mentioned in our title, no, creating an instrument for evaluating distance learning. So meron kaming suggested no template no which our teachers will be able to access later on. Will be giving you access to the template later, so you could also make use of it. But again, that's not like a done and a done template, no. It's actually continuously being developed, okay? So pwede pa tayong mag-add, etc. But this is just like maybe a backbone, no, or something to start with. No? So at least there's the instrument that you can start with and to use no for evaluating distance learning. Yan. Okay? So ito muna, no? Meron na tayong mga several questions. Talaga in-interview ko yung mga administrators. No? So, eto, syempre, para lang mapaliwanag natin no, sa mga teachers natin for today, kung bakit para saan tong session natin for today. Okay, let's answer this two questions before we start no, with our first session. Okay? Okay. Although partially nasagot na to ni Teacher Pao, no? But I think we can start with Sir Jello. Okay? So Sir Jello, what is the importance of evaluating school year 2020-2021? Bakit kailangan?
Yun. Kasi nga, ako, I'll jump with what Miss Pau have mentioned a while ago. That, yes, this is parang, di ba, school year 2020-2021, we're thrown. I always like that idea of being thrown into this particular school year where we don't know actually what we will be doing or what should we be doing in a way. Kasi everything is new, di ba? It's always vivid sa akin nung nangyari nung pandemya, patapos pa lang yung school year 2019-2020 eh. Nung iba nga hindi na nakatapos eh, parang gano'n. Nung iba minadaling tapusin, di ba? Parang gano'n. So, parang lahat tayo at a loss. And there are times, I think before the pandemic, the school year actually started, may debate pa kung should we start? Should we postpone this particular school year? Should we let go? Paano yung mga bata? How will they learn in this particular? Because we don't know, actually. We don't know how to move forward in this, but we are thrown into this particular situation. And I would like to believe that many of us, if not all of us, have really tried our best to make the most out of this particular situation. And now that many of us are ending, for some of us, we are moving forward to a new school year. For some, natapos na sila. It's good to look back at this particular school year of what have we learned from it? What can we do more to this one? Sa amin nga I think Sir Franco will agree with me sa school namin sa Xavier. We have evaluated our school year last year. Now the next phase is parang nandun na kami to stabilize everything. Kasi ngayon meron na tayong data, meron na tayong natutunan, meron na tayong nalaman in this particular school year. And maganda ng title kasi failing forward, because sabi ni Sir Jambi, wala naman perfect. Hindi naman naging perfect yung school year natin. There are many ups and many downs in this particular school year. But what is good is that we have learned from those. And evaluating this school year makes us understand what can be done, what should have been done, what can be improved, and how we can start to settle down, kumbaga, and prepare for the next para mas mag-move forward tayo. Kaya, para sa akin, importante talaga we evaluate the particular school year.
Okay, and that's our entire webinar, no, teachers. So maraming
Okay.
salamat po
Yes,
for
thank
joining
you.
us
Thank you po.
today.
For the
Just,
evaluation din.
That's kidding, that's kidding. I think Sir Jello captured no, the most important salient points no, nung webinar natin for today. No? That's what we're going to talk about. And teachers, no, what's different today no, is that we're packing it with different perspectives. No? So, di ba, usually the evaluation at the end of the school year is usually taken by the teachers, no? So, it's the teacher's perspective that's usually being highlighted, okay? But we realize, no, for this year, that all stakeholders, no, our parents, our students, even administrators, and of course the teachers are all important. That's why for today, no, each one of us, okay, that's going to be what's different, no? Each one of us will be taking on different perspectives, no? So we'll begin with Sir Jambi, who will be talking about the perspective from the administrators. Okay, I will follow it up with the perspective from the teachers, and followed by Sir Jello, no, perspective from the parents, and also we'll end up with Teacher Pau, no, a perspective from the students, so that when we collect information, no, evaluate the school year, we can see information, evaluation, perspective from all our stakeholders, so that we can truly say that we have a holistic solid understanding of how the distance learning was conducted last year, no, or being conducted, no, for some schools. They haven't ended yet. Okay, now siguro that's the outline of our training for today. Okay, so maybe we can now start. Okay, teachers, let's not take too much time anymore, and let's start with our first session, first part of our session for today with Sir Jambi on the perspective of our administrators. Okay. Go ahead, teacher, Sir Jambi.
Okay. Saglit lang po. Ayan. Thank you, Sir Franco, for sharing my screen. Ayan. Pasensya na po kayo before we start. Gaya po ng kaninang suggestion, hydrate daw po. Hydrate tayo palagi. Bawal bawal ma-dehydrate, bawal magkasakit. So, for a while lang po. Okay. So, much has been explained naman na po about the idea behind our main title, yung fail forward. I hope naman na that is clear with everyone. Kung hindi man po, I hope that my presentation and the presentations after mine, and then siguro the wrap up at the end will continue to solidify kung ano nga ba yung ibig sabihin ng fail forward. So we're evaluating the year that was. Well, for some of us, medyo patapos pa lang yung ating school year. Pero for my part, at least, I will be taking on the administrator's point of view. Ayan. Tama po yung sinabi ni Sir Franco kanina na ang mas kilala, ang mas familiar tayo ay yung teacher's point of view when it comes to evaluating. Not necessarily distance learning, but whenever we evaluate the school year, mas madalas, mas alam natin yung point of view ng teachers. Does that mean walang evaluation na nagaganap from the administrator's point of view or from the other stakeholders of the school? Hindi. Hindi lang siya as hindi lang siguro siya as, hindi lang tayo privy to those information. But siguro sa mga kasamahan natin dito na nasa administration, definitely, ang pag-evaluate ng admin year in, year out, meron din yan. Ang pagkonsulta natin sa mga magulang, sa mga mag-aaral, at sa marami pang ibang stakeholders ng school, year in, year out, meron din yan. Okay? So, I just wanted that clarified. Ay. Okay, ayan. Ito po medyo napahapyawan ko na kanina. And I truly believe this is true for everyone. In one way or another, lahat naman po tayo siguro nag-fail uh, during this first pandemic school year. Okay? Uh, Many of us, most of us, sana nga, if not all, survived, thrived. Pero maraming along the way, we tripped. Maraming along the way, ay, mali pala yung ginawa natin na yun. Sige, next time we do better. Okay? But tanggapin natin that failure is part of not just the last school year, in fact, but every school year. Meron at meron tayong aspects of the school year wherein we will not do as well as we want to. Okay? Yes, that's counted as a failure, but what's more important, the greater challenge now is what do we do? Diba? How do we use these failures to lead us towards the right direction? And hopefully that direction is forward. Huh? Not saying that it's bad to pause, step back a while, ganyan. But all of these will only make sense if your intention is to continue moving forward. So, hari nawa lahat po ng mga pagkukulang, lahat ng mga pagkadapa na naranasan natin this school year, palitan na natin yung ating perspective and view them as 'di ba sabi, what does not kill you makes you stronger. 'Di ba? These would only make our program better. This would only make our um, offerings for our learners better. Okay. So, meron po akong ibabahagi sa inyo na 10 concepts, 10 ideas. I am not saying that these are the only 10 concepts or ideas that you should focus on. And I am not in fact saying that you should focus on all these 10. Okay? Because dapat tanggapin po natin na bawat isang paaralan may mga pagkakaiba. Diba? And it's more than just public and private, university level versus the basic education level. Ano kami, ang modality namin ay online, ang modality namin ay modular. In fact, you can have 2 schools right next to each other and they still would have very different needs, very different goals. So, gaya ng sinabi ni Sir Franco kanina, yung ibabahagi po namin sa inyo are just suggestions. Please do work on them. Please do improve them. Please add to them, delete some that are not applicable to you, and share also whatever you are able to produce with other schools. Magtulungan po tayo. Ganyan naman po yung the kaagapay way. Okay? Okay, so again, this presentation is anchored on the point of view of the school administration. Minsan masarap din, alam niyo po ano, may malaking advantage din sa pagiging guro yung nakaranas ka maging administrator. Bumubukas yung isipan mo. You all of a sudden considered various perspectives. O kaya, ikaw naman ay guro tapos nag-MA ka, bumalik ka sa pagiging estudyante. Napakaganda rin nun. Yung mababalik ka sa sa takbo ng isip ng mag-aaral. So, alam mo na rin na you should practice compassion, but also at the same time, ano nga ba yung nakakatulong para sa mag-aaral, etc. And then you become a parent. So, really, the more perspectives that you consider, the better for everyone. Okay. Number 1 siguro, wag na muna tayong lumayo doon sa term na evaluation. Okay? Evaluation tool. It is my wish na sa panahong ito ng pandemya, when our administrators evaluated the learning experience of the students inside the classroom, yung teaching learning experience, sana naman po, or siguro naman po, we did not use the same evaluation tool that we have been using. Because that would be unfair. That would be useless even. Okay? Because times are different. Okay? Definitely, nagbago yung sistema, nagbago yung processes. So, dapat even how you judge, even how you grade your teachers, babaguhin mo rin. I remember there was this one very um, famous skills training ata yun, Sir Franco, if I'm not mistaken, where we had a guest from the Department of Education na who focused on just the evaluation tool. So, please, if sa school po ninyo, you use the same evaluation tool, and I'm talking to the teachers, to the administrators, to the school owners, please do consider changing it. Okay? Ayan, si Sir Angelo Uy daw, sabi ni Sir Franco. Because again, I know this statement was not necessarily used for this context, pero pasok naman siya. Don't judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. Diba? If in the past, ang ginagawa ninyo ay, sige, climb tayo ng tree, it was okay to evaluate it that way. Pero kung ngayon, sabi ni Sir Jello, bigla tayong, we were thrown into the ocean of uncertainty, dapat baguhin din natin yung evaluation tool natin. Kahit pa sabihin mo na hindi naman siya sige, this year we're not going to to count it really, or it won't affect your your points, or it won't affect your salary. Hindi pa rin, sayang pa rin. 'Di ba? Nag-waste ka pa rin ng time to evaluate something using a tool that is not appropriate for that situation. So, please do look back. Kung teacher ka, nung in-evaluate ba ako, pareho lang ba yung evaluation tool na ginamit? Kasi dapat alam niyo yun. Dapat that was shared with you as well. Kung ikaw naman ay administrator, nagpalit ba kami ng evaluation tool, or nag-tweak man lang ba kami ng evaluation tool? If not, sige, let's all fail forward. 'Di ba? That's a failure on our end, pero let's move forward. Okay. Second. Okay. Ayan. Obviously, this is something that we need to evaluate. Ano bang modality yung ginamit ninyo this school year? Or in the case of those who employed online distance learning, anong platform yung ginamit ninyo? Did you hire someone? Malaki ba ang tiwala ninyo kay Sir Franco at nag-ano kayo? Na Google Classroom kayo all throughout? O baka naman Team Jinky kayo at gumagamit kayo ng ng Microsoft Teams? Whatever it is, or whatever modality, kunyari, hybrid kayo. Yung iba nag-hybrid, di ba? Or yung iba, purely modular. Take this time also to pause and think, did it work? Okay? I'm sure naman kayo lahat, inano niyo yan. Ginawa niyo yan. On one hand, huwag matakot magbago. Huwag matakot magpalit. Especially if you already have data to support your decisions. For a while, sorry po. So yun yung advantage natin ngayon. Meron na kasi tayong may data na tayo, may background na tayo, may information na tayong pwedeng pagbasihan ng ating mga decisions. But also, okay? And I want this emphasized. Whenever we evaluate, the goal is not always to change things. Kasi if after you evaluate, nakita mo, sakto lang pala yung modality na ginagamit natin. Sakto lang pala yung platform na ginagamit natin. Then document that. Document na sa panahong ito, sa sitwasyong ito yung ginamit ninyo, and it was a perfect fit. Diba? document that, and do not be afraid also to not change things. Hindi yun wag nyo isipin na pag wala kayong binago ay wala kayong ginawa. Okay? That is not always the case. Because, yan, sabi, di ba? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Di ba? Okay na, papalitan mo pa. You're only adding to the anxiety of the people around you. Di ba? Times are already nakaka-depress na siya for everyone. Okay? Marami sa atin, konting tulak na lang, mababali na, so to speak. So, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Or kung after your evaluation, you find out that it only needs a little tweaking, tweak lang. Okay? Wag natin baguhin lahat kung hindi naman kailangan. Also, at the same time, kung kailangan talaga, ipakita ninyo yung data. Ipakita ninyo yung i-share nyo with your teachers, with your other stakeholders, so that they are aware, sige, sila mismo magsasabi sa'yo, sige, we need to change things. Okay. Number 2 pa lang ako. I have 20 minutes lang daw. Okay. Number 3. Ayan, dito papasok si kaagapay teacher support. Teacher skills. You may want to evaluate also, well, not the skills of your teachers. Kasi parang ang di ba? Magaling ka na ba sa Google Certified Educator Level 1 ka na ba? Or etc. etc. My suggestion is do not evaluate it that way, but instead come up with a program to establish a healthy culture of continuous self-improvement. Diba? And evaluate that program. Gusto mo yung teachers mo ma-encourage. Gusto mo yung teachers mo, pag may nakita sila, uy, I think I wanna be an Edpuzzle coach. Sa kanila mismo, gusto nila, innate sa kanila yung wanting to improve themselves because alam nila na makakatulong to sa pagtuturo nila. Alam nila na susuportahan sila ng school, etc. Don't require it on them. That's just my suggestion, ha. Sometimes kasi, when we impose it, when we require it for our teachers, nauunahan sila ng, it's another thing we have to endure. Okay? Isa na naman tong mag-grade against me if I don't do it. Okay? But instead, if you come up with a program, diba? At isama nyo sila sa pagpaplano ng program na yon. If you come up with a program that will establish nga a culture ng continuous self-improvement or a culture of helping your co-teachers out, sobrang okay yun. Gusto nyo, nyo lang sila, invite nyo lang sila na sumali ng kaagapay teacher support and we'd be more than willing to help you. Kumbaga, establish that thirst to be better para sa mga teachers natin. Okay? So, yun yung suggestion ko po. Instead of requiring things upon them, develop instead a healthy culture of continuous self-improvement. And that's only for the skills. Because another very important aspect that I wish our school administrators, our schools would also give great emphasis on when you evaluate this school year is the morale of the teachers. Diba? Kumustahin natin sila. Okay? Hindi madali itong school year na ito, even for the techie teachers. Okay? Hindi pa rin madali. Okay? Or for the teachers na feeling mo very easily nakapag-adjust agad sila, uy, pa lang, kunyari, August pa lang, parang tuloy-tuloy na yung sistema niya. That doesn't mean na high morale pa rin sila. Okay? Because you also do not know the things that happen around them. Ma? Yung number one, yung constant fear mo na baka may magkasakit ka na kamag-anak, na kapamilya, okay? Yung hindi ka basta-basta nakakalabas, di ka naaarawan, um, di ka nakakapagsimba. That's a very big thing for other people. Okay? So, kumustahin natin sila. But more than just asking them kung kamusta sila, please do listen to them. Baka naman puro kumusta lang tayo, but we don't really listen to them. Okay? I'm not saying this is wrong, okay? But perhaps this is something that you can reflect on. Sometimes, kagustuhan natin silang kumustahin, stress na sila that they're in front of the camera, that they're in front of the computer for the whole day, every day. Tapos yung paraan pa natin ng pangungumusta, o sige, we'll have a 3-day, 8 to 5 webinar on wellness, synchronous. You did not really help them. Di ba? Baka nakadagdag pa yon sa anxiety nila. Ano ba talaga yung kailangan ng teachers natin? And again, iba-iba per school, sometimes even iba-iba per teacher. So you really have to listen. Ayan, takot minsan na kasi baka mamaya kasunod utang po. Ayan. I know we joke about it, pero now more than ever, totoo po yan, ano? Ang dami rin talagang nangangailangan ng pera ngayon. Ang dami lang din talagang nangangailangan ng tulong ngayon. And you'd be surprised din po. Ang dami ring tao ngayon na more than willing to help out. So, walang mawala. Magkumustahan tayo. Sabihin niyo lang po agad na wala kayong maipangutang kung wala. Pero kung meron, why not? Diba? Share your blessings. Number 5, teacher's health. Ayan, please do ask about your teacher's health. Encourage them also to care for themselves. Siguro isa to sa mga last slides na dinagdag ko kasi gusto ko lang talaga ma-encourage everyone. Please do get vaccinated. Kung meron kayong chance, please do get vaccinated. Any of the available vaccines is still better than not being vaccinated. Okay? So pag may chance po tayo, at sana po bilang guro, manguna tayo na magpakalap ng tama at magandang information. Yun din yung kulang natin ngayon siguro na hindi na siya share yung tamang information hindi lang sa mga estudyante, sa mga families nila. So please, as teachers, let's set a good example. As teachers, let us encourage our students, their families, to care for themselves, including vaccination. And as administrators, encourage natin yung mga teachers natin na to care for themselves. Again, wag na naman required. Hindi ka pa nagpapa-vaccine, sige, -2 ka. Hindi gano'n. I-encourage natin sila. Okay? Siguro, kung may opportunity for your school to be a vaccine center, why not? Diba? Kung mas convenient yun for your teachers. If there's an opportunity for you to, to come up with a vaccination drive na maengganyo pa yung mga community with the help of your teachers, why not? Okay? Encourage them to care for themselves. Ayan. Number 6. Stakeholders, include them please in the discussion now more than ever. Okay? Kasama naman na sila dati pa. Pero siguro ngayon baka dapat mas bigyan pa natin sila ng boses. And when I say stakeholders, I'm not only referring to the teachers, the parents, and the students. Nandyan din yung community, the businesses around the community, the local government, di ba? Yung barangay captain natin, yung mga kagawad, etc. All these, in one way or another, at various levels, have a stake on the school and the students that we produce. So let's include them in the discussion, at least offer them a chance to contribute to the decision making. Diba? You'd be surprised. Kanina pa namin sinasabi, the more perspectives that come your way, mas maganda yung mga decision na magagawa natin. Okay. Data safety. Ito naman po, this has always been a concern actually. Okay? Dahil lang ba marami na ngayon na online learning, ngayon lang mahalaga yung data safety? Of course not. Okay? Siguro ngayon lang siya napag-uusapan. Ngayon lang siya mas tin-strengthen ng maraming schools. Pero dati pa siya dapat. Dati pa dapat natin ini-ensure ang safety ng data ng lahat ng ating stakeholders. Okay? So, if you haven't yet, if you don't have yet a program on data safety or in ensuring the safety of the data of your teachers, now is the time. Okay? Now is the best time to do this. And hindi lang po ito pang online, ha? Pati rin po ito pang modular, for example. Tandaan po ninyo, you ask them to write things on their modules. Tapos kinukuha natin, sine-check natin. Ang tanong, how do we dispose of these? What happens to these papers na nandun yung pangalan nila? Sometimes, nagpa-drawing ka pa ng mapa to their homes. Diba? Ang lesson mo kasi maps or directions, etc. Pero not knowing na it's also a source of data, a source of information na, oo nga, no. Pag nawala yung papel na yun, kung sino man yung makakuha, he or she would already have access to where our students live. So please do focus on the data safety of everyone. Ayan, very good yung school nila, nila Miss Joanne. My microbiology class facilitated a webinar on COVID-19 and the importance of vaccine and health protocols. Very good. Maraming salamat po sa inyo. Very good job for doing that. Number 8. Ayan. Ito po, medyo heavy on the admin side. I'm sure many, hindi naman to nakalimutan, pero baka yung iba sa focus natin on the other things, sana po wag natin makalimutan yung facilities. Okay? Hindi kasi pwedeng, hindi porke hindi na ginagamit yung classrooms, hindi mo na siya mini-maintain. Because otherwise, pagka dumating na yung time that we can go back to the classroom, baka hindi na siya pwedeng magamit. Okay? So, please let it be part of your plan, of your programs, even as we are in the pandemic still, to continue the maintenance of our facilities. So sa mga magulang, for example, na nanonood ng webinar na ito, at nakita ninyo sa miscellaneous ninyo, bakit meron pa rin facilities akong babayaran? Ito po yun, ito yung reason. Kasi hindi pwedeng porke hindi na siya ginagamit, hindi na siya dapat i-maintain. Okay? Now, my challenge now is to do more than just maintenance. Okay? Look into the improvement of these facilities. Okay? Ngayon na na-experience mo na, kaya pala naming makapag modular. Oo, kaya pala naming mag-hybrid, kaya pala naming mag-online learning, kahit pala taga-ibang bansa, pwede nang mag-aral sa school namin. So, now is also the chance for you to improve these facilities or perhaps repurpose them. Ano pa yung ibang pwedeng gamit ng mga ano na to, ng mga facilities na ito? Say, for example, you have an extra classroom that you can now uh, turn into a recording studio. Halimbawa lang naman po, hindi naman, lahat po tayo, alam na natin na hindi mo kailangan ng mamahaling gamit just to be able to produce YouTube videos. Diba? But if you have a recording studio, diba, the teachers can use and upload their videos. Nako, that would only be for the benefit of your school. So please do include this in your program. The continuous maintenance of your facilities, the improvement even maybe, and consider repurposing. Okay? On to my last two. Ayan. Number 9, environment. Wag lang po sana nating makalimutan, hindi porke may main problem tayo ngayon which is the pandemic ay hindi na natin problema yung environment. Okay? That's maybe one of the reasons why init na init tayong lahat ngayon. Okay? The problem on the environment did not disappear just because we have a quote-unquote bigger problem. Okay? So, what do I mean by that? Sana i-incorporate natin yung programa natin sa environment sa currently natin ginagawa. Example, modular kayo. Ilang papel ang piniprint ninyo every week? Di ba? Maybe, just maybe, hindi ko naman sinasabi na mag-shift kayo to digital kung hindi talaga kaya. But perhaps there can be a program after that. Di ba? What do we do with these papers? Meron ba kayong recycling program? Meron ba kayong kapartner sa community na pagpapasahan ninyo and they can come up with products, etc.? Magtulungan tayo. Kaya sabi ko po kanina, include in the discussion the other stakeholders. Kasi you'd be surprised at the many varying ideas, brilliant ideas that would come from them. Okay? Pero wag din po natin kalimutan, yung sinabi ko kanina, yung ating data safety. Okay? So, hindi lang din po yun sa papel. The fact that most of us are online, okay? That means we're also using up more energy, okay? And somehow, that still affects, malayo-layo na siguro, but that still affects the environment. Okay? So, magandang springboard yun para ituro sa mga mag-aral natin how to continue caring for the environment. Okay? Kaya very, very happy ako sa mga napakadaming naging plantito at plantita ngayong panahon ng pandemya. Siguro sa kanila or sa umpisa, ano lang yun, it was a hobby that they've always wanted to take up and now they're happy they have time. Pero can you imagine if every home in the Philippines just had one plantito or plantita? Okay? That would greatly improve everyone's take on the environment and may dagdag yon na tulong sa pag-solve natin ng ating environmental concerns. Okay? So wag lang pong kalimutan yung environment. And finally, future plans. One way that we can look at the year that was, mukhang tanggap na natin na the coming school year as well will be done remotely. One way that we can do is to look at it as a pilot testing. Gawin natin positive yung pagtingin natin. It can be a pilot testing for our greater future plans. Okay? Palagi po kami nag-uusap ni Sir Franco. I was sharing with him in my school, for example, because of the pandemic, we realized na pwede pala tayo mag-offer ng online distance learning. So if before you had students who had to say goodbye to their classmates and friends because they're moving to another country and they have to transfer schools, ngayon all of a sudden, it's possible that you're in another country and still studying at the same school. Diba? I have a student, for example, patapos pa lang yung school year but he was already in the United States. Bago lang yung, kumbaga maiiba lang yung schedule niya, pero did he have to withdraw from our school? No. Did he have to say goodbye to his friends and to his organization? No. Kinontinue pa rin niya. Okay? So, now na meron tayong ganong napapilot test, what are our future plans? Ma? Dati problema ng mga public schools, for example, yung napakaraming mga estudyante na nag-share ng isang classroom. Diba? Sabi, 60 to 100 students sharing a classroom. And yet, even with that setup, meron pa kayong pang umaga, pang hapon, pang gabi. Now that you've experienced yung modular, okay, and sabihin na natin, sa experience niyo it works. Oh, di baka pwedeng ano lang po, sample lang to, pasensya na po kayo kung mali or hindi ko naiintindihan completely yung modular na modality. But say for example, you can have 2 weeks synchronous itong mga estudyante na to while the rest are having modular activities and then palit naman. That way, hindi nyo na kailangan magpanggabi, for example, and risk the safety of your teachers and your students. Or that way, instead of hatiin pa sila, pwede kang magkaroon ng longer classroom periods para mas madideepen mo pa yung maituturo mo sa kanila. So this is what I mean by future plans. Ngayon na yung pilot testing natin at mag-gather tayo ng maraming information to help us improve our plans in the future. Palagi namin sinasabi dito sa kaagapay na excited kami sa improvements pa sa educational system na magaganap after this pandemic. This was a blessing in disguise sa isang banda. Okay? So, wag natin sayangin. Wag natin sayangin yung chance na binigay sa atin na mag-pilot test. Let's look into our future plans. So, trip, fall if you must. Okay? Kahit pa yung plakda talaga yung mukha mo, ganun talaga eh. Okay? Pero wag kayong mag-alala. Because this community, hindi lang ako, hindi lang si Sir Franco, not just the 4 of us, pero lahat po ng nakikita nyo dyan sa comment section at lahat ng mga kakilala pa nila, lahat ng mga paaralan nila, this community is right beside you. We're not in front of you, but we're beside you, ready to catch you. Okay? Magtutulungan lang po tayo. Maraming salamat po and I hope na may natutunan po kayo sa aking sharing.
Sure, Jambi. Maybe
Yes,
we could show already the tool from our evaluation form para ma-explain natin yung mga parts na nilagay natin. I'll be sharing my screen instead.
Sure. Ayan. Sige. Yung the portion of the tool for the administrators, sinimplify ko lang naman po. Because again, our goal is for you to add to this, tweak it to the nuances of your school. And minsan nga, ang purpose lang nito is to make you think. Is to make you reflect. Parang, oo nga no, ba't di natin pinag-iisipan yan? So for example, number 1, How appropriate is your school's revised tool to evaluate the student's learning experience? So, meron lang kayong, perfect fit siya and needs to be overhauled. How appropriate is your school's chosen modality during the first pandemic school year? You have perfect fit sa 5 and then for serious reconsideration sa 1. Dito naman ay how appropriate is the learning management system that you used during the first pandemic school year? Nilagyan ko ng NA just in case ah, hindi ninyo kinailangan gumamit ang learning management system. So, ganun pa rin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, how successful? Ito po, special request ko sa mga school owners and administrators. Please do focus on this. How successful is the culture of continuous self-improvement you've developed in the faculty of your school? Matutuwa po sila niyan. So you have from one end toxic and from the other end healthy. You have a healthy culture. And how successful is the program you've developed to uplift the faculty morale of your school? Ganun pa rin. 1 needs to be overhauled and 5 very successful. How would you gauge is the general health of your school's personnel? And when we refer to health, we're talking about physical health, mental health. Naalala niyo po yung natin last Saturday. Mahalaga din ang emotional health at spiritual health. Siguro po, now more than ever, tanggap na natin na yung things like depression, hindi po yan iniimbento. Okay? Mga legitimate po yan na concerns. So, please do take them seriously as well. Tapos meron pa akong expound on your response to the previous item. Baka lang you want to explain further. And then, in the first pandemic school year, how would you gauge is your relationship with other stakeholders? So, gaya nga po ng sinabi ko, you have students, parents, teachers, community, business owners, LGU. So, for some, nag-worsen. And you'd be surprised. Baka it would also be nice to know if your relationship with them became even better than how it was nung pre-pandemic. Diba? It would be nice also to find out. And how strong is your system in place to ensure the safety of your stakeholders' data? Next, we have how strong is your program in place to maintain, improve your school's physical assets, referring to facilities. How strong is your program in place to address environmental concerns, especially those brought about by the present situation? So yun po, we look forward to projects, to drives na shoot, ano ba tawag doon? Hindi ko alam yung term to. Offshoot ng mga ginamit nating maraming modules. 'Di ba? Alam ko kasama kami nila Sir Franco sa mga nagparami ng papel sa Pilipinas. Pero what do we do with these papers after we've used them? And ayan, please do expound on your response. And how are your school plans post-pandemic? 'Di ba? Pwede na pong pag-isipan 'yan. You can always start now para all your plans are geared towards that better future for everyone. Diba? Para sa school, sa teachers, sa community, and most especially sa ating students. Sabi, can we have a soft copy of the tool? Yes, I believe Sir Franco will be sharing with everyone a copy of the tool. Tama ba yan, Sir Franco?
Sir Jambino will be sharing to them the entire instrument later, which they can access and make a copy of it, para magamit nila. Plus, we'll also give them all the resources that we have used for this webinar, for them to read, for them to also use for their own evaluation. Because again, sabi nga Sir Jambi, hindi naman end and done. Yung end done na yung natin, yung instrument natin. This is something that our teachers will have to contextualize, improve based on your own particular context and situations. Pero
Saka Sir
hopefully
Franco,
po,
many of the aspects I included in my portion of the tool, ito lang yung mga um, kakaiba. Kasi merong, 'di ba, merong mga aspects of the evaluation na whether face-to-face or distance learning, nandun naman na siya talaga eh. 'Di ba? So given na yun, nandun pa rin sila, idagdag nyo lang po itong mga ito if they, kung swak siya sa konteksto ng inyong school. Yan. Thank you po. Nakamute, Sir Franco.
maraming siyempre check ko yung mic ko, no? So maraming salamat Sir Jamie, no, for that, no. And I think Sir Jamie already gave us, no, the like a sense of overview, no, on how our evaluation tools and instruments should look like. Okay. And so maraming salamat. We'll get back to Sir Jamie later, no, as we have our panel session for this afternoon. So teachers, lipat na po tayo ngayon sa next perspective naman natin, which is the teachers. Okay. So before we do that, teachers, no, I'd like to first, no, begin by sharing, because Sir Jambi, no, talk about administration, okay, or the administrator's perspective, okay. I also like to give an input on how can administrators, no, assist and support their teachers, no, their teaching staff in terms of technology integration, because alam naman natin na isa sa pinakamalaking naging change, no, during the pandemic, wherein we were forced, in a way, course, to get into technology integration in order to facilitate distance learning or online learning setup. Okay, so let me just share, no, for our administrators there who are watching right now. Okay, and perhaps those who are into technology integration, mga tinatawag nating tech integration champions, okay, those who are already helping others, mga ICT coordinators natin, and all the others, no, who are helping our teachers in terms of infusing technology in the classroom. Okay, so teachers, this is what they call the challenge-based coaching model. Okay, this is lifted or based from the dynamic learning project, no, coordinated by Google in order to create the coach Google certified coach program. Okay, so this is a very helpful tool or model if we want, no, to assist our teachers in terms of technology integration. Okay, so again, sabi natin kanina, no, isa yan sa mga concerns dapat ng mga administrators natin. How do administrators, okay, support the teachers in terms of technology integration? Because while last year, no, medyo understandable that we were all thrown into a sink or swim situation. Okay, pero dapat this year hindi na siya pwedeng ganun. Okay, there's like more accountability now, no, next year or this coming school year. Okay, for our administrators to level up, step up, no, in terms of support in technology integration. Hindi natin pwedeng pabayaan ang ating mga guro na kapain lamang, no, ng on their own yung paggamit ng technology sa classroom, especially that we're talking about technology integration. This is something that you have to be doing as a community, no, hindi to pwedeng pili-pili or butas-butas or bungi-bungi na efforts from different teachers, no, within the school system. So we have to make sure that the entire community is within that same page, no, of technology integration. Okay, so let's look at this model, teachers, no, that makes use of what they call the DLP coaching model or the 5-step, no, coaching model, no, for a teacher. So this is like sort of like a transition. Okay, so we're transitioning from administrator's perspective, okay, going to the teacher's perspective. Before I show to you the instrument that I make, no, or that I made for teachers evaluation tool, no. Okay, so una-una, if we are guiding our teachers for technology integration, the first step is always identifying and understanding the challenge. Okay? And that's, yun na rin papasok maybe later on, yung ating maybe evaluation or yung tinatawag nating needs assessment activity prior to coaching your teachers. No? Okay? So start your coaching by helping your teachers brainstorm or problems of practice and choose one challenge to focus on for the coming weeks, no, or coming months, no. So we have to make sure, no, that we have a very specific problem that we are helping our teachers with. For example, ang problems ng mga teachers natin is, I want to use tools for assessments. Okay, so maybe that's one of the problems, okay, that we have to address for our teachers. No, so we have to give them like trainings, or we have to give them coaching, no, on how to use different technology application in developing, designing, and implementing assessments. Okay, so that's our first step. So we always begin with a problem. Okay, so that when we coach our teachers, no, um, that's where the basis will be from. Okay? That also will transpire no dun sa idea ng trainings. Okay? So, 'di ba, ang dami nating trainings. I know our teachers can relate no. Talagang buhos yung training last year. Ang dami binigay na trainings no ng for example sa DepEd, different institutions, school-based trainings, etc. Okay? And these trainings should also follow that idea na dapat may training tayo. Ang isa rin sa mga tinatanong natin is that, ano bang problema ang sinasagot nitong training na to? Kasi baka naman, wala naman talaga siyang sinasagot na problema at nakakaubos lang tayo ng oras ng mga teachers natin na sobrang dami pang kailangang gawin. Para mas streamline in a way and mas organized, no, and mas purposive. Yun siguro yung pinaka-importanting word, no, pagdating sa training or coaching, no. Mas purposive yung coaching and training natin because we know that we're actually addressing a particular problem. Okay? Second, investigate the possible strategies, no. So that's where now you're going to guide, no, and help your teachers look for possible strategies on how to solve that problem. Okay, for example, if the problem is applying technology and application in using in assessments, no. So what kind of strategies do we use? Okay, what kind of approaches? No, so it's when you investigate, research potential strategies, and tools available, and perhaps you can also reach out to your PLNs, no, yung mga professional learning networks natin, in order to solve some problems. For example, you can ask in Facebook. For example, if you have a Facebook group, you can ask those members of the Facebook, how do you use technology in assessments? Something like that. Or for example, no, ang dami ko na rin nakita, for example, ng mga Facebook groups that are subject-specific. No, you might want to ask strategies on how those different subjects, no, or your subject area actually implement, no, or infuse technology for assessment. Something like that. No? Okay. Second, select personalized strategy and tools. So once you have gathered all of these strategies and tools, now it's time to select. Okay, it's time to select. It's time to help them personalize their set of tools and strategies. Okay, and of course, after that, help them implement and the strategy and make improvements. Okay, so allow them, no, so give them time to actually make use of this technology kasi for example, no, this last school year nag-demand tayo ng kailangan tayo mag-technology integration kasi distance learning tayo, but actually hindi natin masyadong nabigyan ng oras yung mga teachers natin to actually choose their tools, okay, to calibrate their tools, to check if the tools are working, etc. Okay, so we have to give them our teachers, no, that way, so para lang malaman natin exactly if the tools are working. Okay. And of course, no, teachers, nag-skip lang. Okay. To reflect on experience and outcomes. Okay, so at babalik yan, no? Okay, so magsa-cycle back yan. Okay, so that's why if you see the diagram here, okay, cyclical siya. Okay, because after you have implement the strategy and gather information about it, you'll have to help your teachers, no, reflect on the experience, no? Did the tool work? Did the strategy work? For example, if we're talking about distance learning, no, you'll have to also help your teachers, no, reflect on the outcomes of the distance learning, or in a micro level, for example, how the use of technology in a particular lesson impacted, no, the lesson itself, okay, or the assessment in that lesson. Okay, and then after that, once you have gathered information in your reflection, you circle back again. Okay, and it becomes a cycle, no, of identifying a problem, investigating, personalizing your tools, implementing, and then reflecting again. Okay, so teachers overall, no, and for the administrators, okay, so when we think about technology integration, okay, we have to understand it's not like a linear progression. Okay, that technology integration is always a cyclical. Okay, it starts from the design to the choosing of tools to the implementation to the reflection, and then you go back. No, whatever you have learned from that first cycle, you apply to the second cycle. Whatever you have learned from the second cycle, you also apply that, no, on the third cycle, and so on and so forth until you develop a very cohesive technology integration program. Okay? So that's I don't know, sharing lang yun, para lang magkaroon tayong transition from the teachers, no, and the administrators perspective. Okay? Now, let's go to the tool, okay, or the questions, no, that we will use for our teachers evaluation. Okay. Okay. So this is now the teacher's evaluation form. So this is what we're going to give our teachers. No. And the first thing that we're going to ask here is yung evaluate the preparation phase for distance learning. Very important, teachers, no, or na malaman natin, no, ng administrators natin when we evaluate distance learning is for us to understand, okay, or to get information how the teachers perceive the preparation. Was the preparation enough? Okay, so we have several areas here, but that we can look at in terms of evaluating. Sorry, ano ka na lang? Evaluating that the phase, no, the preparation phase for distance learning. Okay, so the first one, okay, is we make use for the first statement here: sufficient time for preparation. Hindi lang nakita, no? Okay. So did the teachers actually have, okay, did the teachers receive sufficient time for planning or preparation? Kailangan malaman natin because, okay, coming to next school year, okay, kailangan mag-adjust tayo. Okay, kailangan, if the teachers felt, no, that they did not get enough planning time, then we'll have to give them that time. Okay, because we know how hard it is to plan for so many things, no, unit planning, for recalibration of curriculums, for designing instructional materials. For right now, no, tayo lahat, we were also in a way forced asked to do video lessons. Okay, so how do we convert our materials into video lessons? Okay, so those kinds of things, no, kailangan niya ng time. Okay, so you have to get that, no. Kailangan natin malaman if the teachers need more time or okay na ba yung time na binigay natin last year for planning. Provision for resources. Okay? Nagbigay pa tayo ng enough resources for our teachers. No? Like, for example, devices. Did we support them in terms of devices? Did we support them in terms of like mobile data? Nagbigay ba tayo ng free internet subsidy for our teachers to support them? Because we know, no, for example, na mamaya wala naman palang device teacher. O kaya nagkaroon sila ng problema about internet connection. So how do we expect our teachers to perform, no, in a distance learning modality without those things? Okay? And for example, no, kahit po sa mga modular, nagpiprint po tayo, no, kailangan pa rin ng computer at laptop to do that. Okay? So mga devices natin. Clear guidelines. Okay? So alamin din natin if the teachers receive clear guidelines, no, in terms of a roadmap and curriculum. Okay? So when we entered the preparation phase, the teachers receive that very clear guidelines on ito yung direction natin, ito yung roadmap natin, this is where we're going. Okay? So kung last year medyo nabigla tayo, dapat ngayon mas establish po yan, ano, mas alam natin exactly yung roadmap natin. Okay? Is next year going to be online pa rin, or next year po ba magkakaroon na tayo ng hybrid setup? So those kinds of things. Okay? Although alam ko po, no, a matter of fact, no, that our DepEd teachers, no, our public school teachers, no, will have to rely from the higher ups for these things, no. But I think for the moment, no, our administrators, our principals could already communicate a sense of this could be the possibilities, so that our teachers could already have that mindset coming into the next school year. Administrative support and guidance. No? So also we'll have to ask our teachers, did you get enough support and guidance? Administrative support and guidance. Okay. So when you needed clarifications, were the administrators there? Okay. When you were confused about like curriculum, about guidelines, okay, were your administrators there? Were the administrative support present? Okay. So kailangan din malaman kasi kung if the teachers felt na wala, no, or somewhat evident lang or not evident, okay, then we'll have to rethink about that. No? Next school year, baka kailangan natin mag-set up ng more ng meetings, no? We'll have to maybe put up a system or a protocol that allows us to communicate with our teachers, no, and help them and support them, no, in distance learning modality. Okay? Para alam niyo po, no, yung idea na hindi po natin pinababayaan yung mga teachers natin na manghula po, no, or ano na lang, ma-confuse in terms of what to do. Okay? For example, revise your curriculum. Sige, malinaw yun, di ba? For example, revise your curriculum. Pero how do we revise it? To what extent do we revise it? Ano yung guidelines namin in revising this curriculum? Meron ba kami susundan na steps that we have to go about? Or is it fully on the discretion of the teachers? So yung mga bagay na ganyan, dapat na-communicate natin sa mga teachers yan. Okay? At part yan, no, ng administrative support and guidance. Okay? Distance learning modality training. Okay? Did we give them enough time to actually learn how to operate in a distance learning modality? Alam naman natin teachers, no, na madami sa atin na caught off guard, walang experience at all, zero experience or a very bare minimum experience in terms of distance learning modality. And then suddenly they were asked, no, to conduct learning in a distance learning modality. So we have to understand, did we give them enough training? Kasi kung wala or kulang yung training na yon, then we might have to up that, no, or to increase that or solidify our distance learning modality training for our teachers. No? Alam natin, marami na rin experience yung mga teachers natin, no, coming from next school year. Pero maybe what we can do is that if we felt that our teachers lack, no, distance learning modality training, okay, then we might need to, in a way, realign our objectives, okay, and make our training more purposive by setting up like a progressive training program na hindi siya bungi-bunging program, no, na we give this, we give that, pero hindi talaga sila connected. Okay? So maybe that's something that we can also think about, no, a more progressive connected training program. Okay, let's just like what we do in Kaagapay Teacher Support now. If you notice, okay, lahat ng, for example, mga series natin are connected. Okay, meron silang thematic yung ating approach. For example, meron tayong full month of Google for Education series. Next month, in June, magkakaroon tayo ng Microsoft Office 365 series, no? Kasi nga, dapat may ganung sense on program natin, no? Yung cohesiveness, no? As an entire set of training events. Okay? So yan, kailangan natin malaman yan. Okay? Okay, next natin, okay? After you have evaluated, no, the preparation phase, no? Okay? We have now to also evaluate the technology integration, okay? Or the use of technology in distance learning, okay? At ito yung mga possible na tanong natin, ano? So 6 lang naman yung kailangan nating tingnan dito, okay? Pagdating sa use of technology in distance learning, no? Okay, so una-una, as a teacher, no? So we'll have to know, did the teacher actually develop yung tinatawag na student agency? Okay? Nagkaroon ba ng independent learning? Nabigyan ba ng chance yung mga students to do the asynchronous task, okay, and learn on their own? Meron bang may mga tasks ba, for example, or mga assessments, okay, or mga instructions that the students can actually do on their own, okay? Or nabigyan ba ng boses yung mga estudyante natin? Something like that, no? We'll have to look at that, okay? And of course, did the teacher promote collaboration skills? Lalo na pag pinag-uusapan natin 21st century learning, no? Isa yan sa mga dapat na targetan. Although, alam ko technically teachers, no, mahirap yan pag pinag-uusapan natin yung remote study o yung mga printed modules natin. Okay? Because it's really hard to promote collaboration in a printed format, no? Okay? In a separated space, okay? Or wala kayong physical na face-to-face setup, okay? Pero for those who have done online and hybrid setup, were you able to develop collaboration skills? Okay? Communication skills, okay? Did you use technology in order to develop skills? Okay? Nagkaroon ba ng, for example, online speech assessment o kaya mga essay writing, etc. Okay? Creativity skills, okay? Did you use technology in order to promote creativity skills? Now, for example, instead of asking them to create a presentation, to use, for example, Google Sheets, in analyzing data, you ask them to create a pixel art. Okay? So that's one. Example yun ng paggamit ng Google for Education tools ng nagde-develop ng creativity. Okay? Critical thinking. Okay? So were you able to engage your students in a deep thought-provoking instruction? Yan natin pag-usapan. No? Okay? And of course, were you able to, as a teacher, were you able to select relevant technology tools? Lagi natin sinasabi sa kaagapay teacher support na hindi siya paramihan. Okay? At alam din po ng mga teachers natin yan, no? Sa kanilang, if I'm not mistaken, tama ba yung tawag ko? Correct me if I'm wrong. No? Yung sa tinatawag natin na COT, dun sa RPMS natin, isa dun sa mga guidelines dun, no? Yung proper and deep use of tools, no? Yan. Okay, so hindi lang siya about I know how to use a tool, but it's about how engaged and how deep and how comprehensive I have used the tool, no? Yan. So yung mga ganun nating mga tanong, no? Okay? So that's the second one, teachers, no? You evaluate use of technology, okay? And the third one, the third aspect that we have to evaluate, no, for the teachers, okay, is the provision for training for distance learning. Nabanggit ko na to kanina, no? Pero ito, of course, no, we'll also have to know how do the teachers receive and perceive the training programs that we give them. Kasi bumuhos lang yan, no? Teachers, sa mga teachers po natin ngayon, type nyo po, gaano kadaming webinars na ang na-attendan, napuntahan nyo or na-attendan nyo all throughout this pandemic year. Yan, hintayin ko, no? Habang nag-explain ako dito. Estimate lang. Gaano kadaming webinars na ang napuntahan nating lahat. Okay? Kasi malaki ako or confident ako that marami sa mga teachers natin are averaging around 50 to 100 webinars, no, all throughout the pandemic. Ganun kadami ang mga training program na pinuntahan natin. Yan, ang dami, grabe. Si Sister Navarro, 50. Si Pastor Manny, 133. Very exact yung kay Pastor Manny, no. So let's see, no, kung sino pa yung mas madami. Tingnan ko si pinakamadami. Yan, napakarami na po, more than 50. Okay? Pero eto na ngayon, no. As a school, as an administrator, no, when we collect information from the teachers, we have to understand, did the teachers actually perceive it as something consistent? Okay? Nakita ba ng teacher na consistent yung training program natin, okay, sa school natin in order to support, no, distance learning modality? Okay? Second, relevance. Lahat ba ng mga pinapapuntahan natin sa kanila or nire-require natin sa kanilang mga webinars are actually relevant to their subject area or how they conduct their instruction? Kasi baka naman nag-require tayo ng mga generalized webinars or training program na talaga namang hindi nila ma-apply sa kanilang pagtuturo. Na number one, that's going to be a waste of time. Second, it's going to burn out your teachers even more, no? Kasi instead na ginagawa nila ibang gawain nila, they will have to spend time on those webinars, no? Okay? So that's now going to be on the administrative level. Kailangan very perceptive tayo sa pagpili ng mga training program for our teachers. And okay, it will help if you actually have a data like this. Malalaman mo kung paano tinatanggap and how the teachers, no, see and perceive the trainings that you're giving them. Okay? Yan, ang dami na, no? Lampas 300 webinars. Yes, no, Teacher Marina, I can and of course, no, aside from relevance, pag-uusapan mo rin dapat, no, tatanungin mo rin si teacher, did you see that the training is aligned into our curriculum? May alignment ba siya? Kasi baka naman sobrang ganda ng webinar, no? Talagang international speaker, talagang the resource speaker is very qualified, master of the content. Kaya lang pagdating dun sa hindi naman pala align, no? Parang hindi siya something that actually strengthen our curriculum or our instruction or our assessments, then it's something that we should not require or maybe ask our teachers to attend. Okay? Of course, purpose. Okay? Para saan yung training? Okay? Nalalaman ba ng teacher, no? Or was the purpose actually communicated to them? Okay? Purposeful ba yung mga training? And we say purposeful teachers, no, ibig sabihin, it's actually targeting a current problem, a current need, a current demand, no? Hindi lang tayo, kaya nga for example, teachers, no, and our some of our community members could attest, every time you ask training from Kaagapay Teacher Support, kapag po may mga nagre-request ng training, no, kay Kaagapay Teacher Support, for their schools, our first question is that, what do your teachers need? At sometimes, nako-caught off guard yung mga, yung mga nagre-request ng training from us. Kasi that's the first question I will ask them. Okay? What do your teachers need? Ano yung kailangan nila? Kasi kapag wala tayong information about that, then saan nanggagaling yung training idea natin? Okay? Because if you know what your teachers need, then you will be able to develop a training program that actually suits them and actually delivers their needs, no, as teachers. Yes, no, yan. Thank you, Sister Navarro. Nakakatawa talaga ng puso ang mga comment ni Sister Navarro. Maraming salamat, Sister Navarro. Okay? Sister Monica, yan, if I'm not mistaken. Para, and of course, sensitivity. Okay, yung sensitivity. Hindi ito masyadong tinatanong, no? Pero I think, no, based on our experience in Kaagapay Teacher Support, dapat sensitive ang training program natin. Kahit, for example, meron ka ng set, ito na yung mga training program natin for month of June, July, August, September. At ito lahat kailangan attendan ng mga teachers natin. But what if down the road, no, around July or August, some needs occurred? Biglang nagbago. Biglang may mga kailangang mga training to actually meet the context or the current needs of the teachers. So, ano gagawin natin? Will the program be able to is the program flexible enough to accommodate those changes? Or sobrang rigid niya, kahit mayroon silang mga current needs, hindi na yung papansinin kasi nga nakaset na eh, di ba? Nalagay na yung program, na-schedule na-invite na yung mga speakers. So we also have to think about that. Okay? So you have to also get from the teachers, do you think the programs or the training programs was sensitive enough to accommodate your ongoing demands and needs all throughout the pandemic? Yes, no, maganda rin po yan, Teacher Carmela, no. Again, sasabi natin, hindi naman laging sa subject area naka-align, okay? Basta meron siyang alignment, no. If for example, we're targeting emotional health of our teachers, as long as it's aligned to that, then so be it, no. Okay? Basta kailangan meron siyang pinupuntahan, okay? And then, next natin, no, which area do you need most assistance with? Okay? So kailangan na rin natin tanongin sa mga teachers natin, saan kayo may kailangan ng tulong? Based on our experience from last year, saan kayo pinaka nahirapan? So that as administrators or as a school, we're going to provide you this much support, you know, for that particular area. For example, kayo ba nahirapan kayo sa content auditing? Kasi 'di ba, nagbawas tayo ng content natin this year dahil dun sa, for example, sa mga public school teachers natin sa MELC, no, yung most essential learning competencies, it asked us, no, it demanded, no, the content auditing or of your subject areas. Okay, nagbawas talaga tayo. Kahit sa areas namin, sa mga private schools, kailangan din namin magbawas because we can't really fully deliver all the content given our situation. Okay? So kailangan niyo ba ng tulong doon kung paano magbawas, paano magbabawas, at ano ang mga dapat bawasin sa inyong content. Okay? Online distance learning management. Okay? Baka naman may kailangan ba ng teachers natin ng tulong about how do I conduct class in a Google Meet or a Zoom Meet? Okay? Or kaya sa MS Teams meeting. Pag naka-video conferencing ako, how do I manage my class? How do I know if my class are listening? How do I engage my students? No? How do I prevent, for example, mock engagement? O kaya yung mga tinatawag natin na 5-minute persons, no, yung papasok ng 5 minutes tapos nawawala na during the entire time. And I think you can relate, teachers, na may mga ganyan tayo mga estudyante. Nag-log in lang para sa attendance, pagkatapos ng attendance, naglaho ng parang bula. Okay? Hindi mo na makausap, naka-freeze na yung kanyang thumbnail picture dun, no? Tapos again, okay, that's going to also affect, no, how we conduct our learning. Or baka kailangan naman ng tulong ng mga teachers natin on technology integration into education, lalo na yan ang pinaka-demand, no, for a distance learning modality. Paano gumamit ng teknolohiya sa pagtuturo? Okay? At wag nating i-assume, no, we have to also understand that our teachers, no, while our Filipino teachers are very competent, we also cannot like just leave them alone na bahala na kayo dyan, pumili na lang kayo at alamin niyo yung gusto niyong tools. Hindi pwedeng ganun. Okay? So kailangan meron din tayong at the very minimum, no, support, no, for our teachers to gain that sense of confidence in terms of using technology in the classroom. Marami na ako na-encounter na gano'n, na magagaling, kayang-kayang matuto ng technology integration o kaya gumamit ng technology sa pagtuturo, kaya lang walang confidence, natatakot. Okay? So you have to develop that, no? For example, pag nakita mo, 90% of your teachers think that they need technology integration in education, assistance in, okay? And of course, creating valid and effective assessments. Isa rin yun sa mga naging challenge ng mga teachers natin. How do I maintain or how do I develop an assessment tool that is that maintains its integrity despite being implemented in an online distance learning setup? Kasi for example, before pwede ka magpa-quiz, di ba? Quiz, long test, okay? Kasi nangyayari sa classroom. Eh ngayon, hindi mo na pwedeng gawin yun, okay? Kung gusto mong gawin yun, kailangan mo maglagay ng mga parameters, no, ng mga protocols in order to prevent the intervention on your test. Okay? Kasi malay natin, for example, bigay ka ng Google Form quiz. Malay mo kung sino yung sumasagot niyan. Okay? Malay mo kung tutor pala or kaya someone else is answering that. Yan. Okay? Okay. And the last one natin, teachers, no? Is it the last one? Okay. Which area did you encounter most difficulty? Okay. So, pwede natin tanungin yan, no? Saan naman sila nagkaroon ng problema, okay, or difficulty with, okay? What's the difference, no? Doon sa kailangan ko ng assistance at itong naka-encounter ko ng difficulty. Kasi sometimes teachers, no, kailangan natin malaman yung mga areas na to para malaman natin bakit nagkakaroon ng problema si teacher. Okay? Kasi hindi lang naman yun about the teacher. For example, pag nalaman natin na maraming problema sa technology integration, okay? Then we have to also ask, bakit may problema sa technology integration? May kulang ba tayo sa resources? Baka naman pala, wala naman pala mga laptops or tablets yung mga teachers natin. Okay? Second, may problema sa technology integration. It's because the students, okay, were not actually taught how to use the tools that were being used by the teachers. Okay, so this question now, no, gives you more idea on what are the problems, no, being encountered in a distance learning modality by the teachers, no, and hopefully we can address them in a more holistic way for your school. Okay. Okay. And of course, the last one, no, kumustahin natin yung mga teachers natin. Nabanggit natin Sir Jambi kanina, no. As your teachers pa din, alamin nyo pa din, how's the overall experience? Okay, was it a positive? Okay? Of course, ano yan, no? Varied answers yan, no? You cannot like have a one extreme answers here, okay? Ano yan? Magkakaroon yan ng mga varied positions na yung mga teachers natin on how they experience the distance learning, okay? And then you might want to collect a qualitative data from that, okay? If they answer, for example, a 2, why was it a 2? If they answered a 4, why was it a 4? Okay? And so on and so forth. And yung last natin is that you might want to ask permission, ask suggestions, no, from your teachers, no, on how else, or what are their suggestions do you have in order to recalibrate the distance learning approach for next school year? Because definitely, while there's a likelihood, no, na may mga practices tayo na magki-carry over, okay? There's also a big chance na marami sa mga practices natin or majority of our practices had to be recalibrated, okay? Or reconsidered, no, in so many ways if it was effective and it actually rendered results from last school year. Okay? So teachers, that's the tool that we can use, no? Questions bago tayo magpatuloy, no? I'll be on my last sharing, okay? Questions, teachers? Or masyado po ba ako mabilis? Let me know. Okay, mukhang wala naman, no? Okay. So far, wala namang questions, okay? I'm looking at our chat box right now, okay? So I don't know if it's because clear naman or kaya dahil wala na na-gets kay Sir Franco, no? Anyway, Teachers, let's now go to the last one. No, this one I'd like to show you. No, a rubric that you can also use. No, to comprehensively measure, okay, or to comprehensively understand, no, the impactful use of technology. Ito po yung tinatawag nating impactful technology use rubric. So, if example, if you really want to understand, no, if your teachers or how the teachers, no, conducted, implemented, designed, develop technology integration program in their classes, this is the rubric that you can look at. Now, teachers, ito pong rubric na to is part ng resources na ibibigay namin sa inyong lahat. You will have access to this. The poster kanina on the coaching model, this one, the template for the rubric, for the evaluation form, okay, will also be given to you in that resource folder. Okay? Yan. Okay, mukhang okay naman yung pacing, no? Yan. Maraming salamat po, teachers. No? So, teachers, I won't go over this, no? Pero if you just look at this is also from the dynamic learning project, no? Ni Google, okay? So, this one you can use to, for example, to understand, no, how technology was used in the classroom, okay? Yan. So, meron yung mga, ano rin, no, scale, no, from not at all to a small extent, to some extent, to a large extent, to a very large extent. At meron yung mga descriptors, okay? And you can see here, a very, very clear descriptor, no? Okay? Hindi siya nakakalitong gamitin, okay? So, if example, you ask your teachers to answer this, madali na itong masasagutan. Okay? So, for example, in this descriptor, my students are proficient in using technology to communicate as appropriate for their grade level. Okay? So, dito teachers, no, hindi lang natin kino-consider yung perspective, of course, ni teacher, no? Of course, perspective ni teachers, pero looking at their students. At medyo madami ang teachers, no? Yan. Pinapakita ko lang. This is actually 6-page, no? 6-page document. Yan. Okay? Okay. So teachers, again, this resource, no, will be given to you later on, okay? Sa ating resource folder. Lahat po ng mga resources namin, just like always, are for free and can be accessed by all of you at any given time, no? Hanggat po kailangan nyo sila, nandiyan yung mga resources natin, okay? So again, this is the ITU or the impactful technology use kay rubric, okay? So teachers, that would be it for my part, no? We'll be moving forward, no? Moving forward to our next speaker, which will be now discussing to us, okay, the perspective, no, for the parents naman. So, what kind of questions, okay? Ano naman yung mga tanong na kailangan nating itanong sa ating mga estudyante, no? Sa ating mga parents, okay? Because we know that the parents have been more involved, no, more than ever in education this year because of the setup, no, for this school year. Okay, so mahalagang malaman natin anong iniisip ng mga parents natin at ang perspective nila. Okay, so let's welcome Sir Jello into our stream. Okay, hintayin natin yan. Okay. Yes, Sir Jello, good luck po. And the floor is now yours. Okay, let me share your screen. Papalitan ko lang ating banner. Okay.
Yeah.
So teachers, good luck and I'll see you later for the panel discussion.
Ayun. So, thank you, Sir Franco. So, ngayon po, my part, I'll be looking into and trying to see how we can evaluate distance learning and fail forward in the perspective of a parent. Siguro po, just before, as I continue on my discussion, one of the things that I think I'm very fortunate in a way is that aside from being a teacher, I'm also a parent. So I have the perspective of the teacher and also the perspective of the parent in a way. So what I'll be sharing with you are some of the things that I have learned, some of the things that I have also learned from the webinars, from some readings that we will be sharing later on the things that I think, okay, I would like to share as important details or important things to consider in evaluating distance learning. So again, as Sir Jambi have mentioned, Sir Franco mentioned, these are all suggestions. Many of them might be missed by me as a parent. So feel free to add on to that. So I know our dear kaagapays are very much into engagement. So dagdagan po natin para mas maging maganda, mas maging malawak ang ating perspective, ang ating perspektibo sa kung paano natin pwedeng tignan at i-evaluate ang ating distance learning. Okay? So again, I'll be looking into as a parent. So the parent's perspective of the distance learning. Okay? First and foremost, before I begin, I would like to congratulate our parents for especially kung patapos na at sa mga natapos na at nung magsisimula ulit, congratulations po. It's not easy to be a parent in this particular situation. It's not easy to be put into. Okay, if teachers felt that they are thrown into this one, parents as well are thrown into this one. Okay, and so I will begin by asking you, kamusta po kayo? Okay, for those who are parents here, for those who are kaagapas, kamusta po? Kamusta naman po kayo after this online distance learning as a parent? So, gusto ko po sana makita ng perspective ninyo as a parent. Kamusta po kayo? Ano po ang naramdaman ninyo? Ano po yung mga natutunan ninyo? Ano sa tingin ninyo yung mga bagay na the ups and downs of the online distance or distance learning or online distance learning or doing module? So, kamusta po kayo? So, pakilagay po sa chat, kamusta po kayo? Mga parents, kamusta po ang inyong experience with the distance learning? Sige. So, while we wait for some of the responses, okay? So, share lang po natin. Okay? Para makita po natin kung nasa ang perspektibo na tayo. Ayan. Thank you. Being a parent in time of pandemic is very challenging, but we did it. So, congratulations, Sir Wilson. Yan, Miss Carmela, medyo mabuti po. That's good to hear. Okay? Especially to parents. Kasi I do remember at the beginning of this pandemic, marami sa parents, even I myself, very anxious, okay? Very conscious. Ano ba nung pinapasok natin? Paano ba ang buhay natin as parents? Kaya nga, in the perspective a while ago that I shared, minsan nandun tayo sa instance na baka ipastop ko na lang ang aking anak kasi hindi ko alam how things will be. Okay? So, it's good. Si Ma'am Manolita, okay. So, that's good. Okay? So, mamaya po babalikan ulit natin yan. Okay. So, let's look into why this perspective is valuable. What's the value of this perspective? I will always bank on the perspective of parents in not only in distance learning, but in education itself because of the homeschool partnership. Diba? Partners po tayo. Hindi naman, kapag iniwan ng bata sa school, bahala na si teacher doon, bahala ng school doon. Okay? For them to learn. Hindi naman po ganun, diba? It's not the case. If we want to raise a child, we have to raise it as a community. Diba? It builds, I don't know if I get that correct, but it takes a village to raise a child. So, all of us have a part in the development of our children. And so, mahalagang perspective yung parents kasi it's a homeschool partnership. It's always been like that. Okay? So, that's why it's good to look into the perspective of parents into this online distance learning. Kasi sila nung nandoon, sabi nga, di ba? Kung nasa school tayo, nung mga teachers ay kita ko ano nangyayari sa mga bata. Pero ngayon na the distance learning, mas marami, if not all the time, hopefully, merong mga parents or guardians that always look into the welfare of the students or our children in this particular setup. So, I think that's a valuable perspective. Kasi ngayon, nakikita natin yung mga bata in that sense. Okay? Hindi na sila nasa school, Ngayon, it's the parents, it's the household, it's the people in the home that nurture, that helps, that guides our students in this distance learning, online distance learning, or modular setup. So just to give some context, challenges, and perceived experience, these are some, I think many of us already have shared it in the chat box. Yan, nakita natin nung a lot of adjustments, challenging but manageable, okay? To be present, okay, to our kids through the online studies, okay? Lahat makakaya. Bonding moments time with the kids too. Yon. Okay. So, in general, marami, I don't know if you will agree with me, marami sa atin, when we started this particular setup, many felt inadequate and helpless. One of the things that was mentioned by many of the parents, hindi ko alam yung subject na yan. Paano ko tuturuan ng math ng anak ko? Paano ko ituturo to? High school yan, hindi nga ako nakatapos. Hindi ko nga alam, nakalimutan ko na sa tagal ng aking pag-aaral noon, hindi ko na alam. Or there are many things that already knew. So how can I help? So there is that helplessness in us. Second, the balance. One of the challenges in this particular setup that we have, the distance learning, is that the difference or the line between work and home, hindi natin minsan natin, it's very blurry. Diba? So, for those who are working, work from home is a challenge. Okay? Kaya nga, even in wellness or well-being seminars, sinaano pa rin nila na kailangan magkaroon ka ng way and how you'll be able to separate the two. Kasi that's a very challenging part. The balance. Kailan ka nagtatrabaho? Kailan ka nasa bahay talaga? Eh, parati ka naman nasa bahay. In some of the comments, it's also shared na parang marami sa ating mga parents, okay, are being challenged. Kasi minsan, tapos na nung work, may work pa sa bahay. Hindi naman natatapos ng work. Bakasyon nga, may work pa rin. Diba? So, napakpano na nung balance natin. And many of us are anxious and afraid. Not only because of the pandemic, okay? I think that's a big part of it is because of the pandemic. Kasi syempre, everyone is at home. We don't know how risky we need to go, or the virus is at this particular point, even at this particular point in time. Hindi natin alam kung gaano ba kalalanan ng sitwasyon. Alam natin tumataas, pero ayun nga, in one of our sharing, the coronavirus is not only just numbers. They are now having names. Mga kakilala na natin yung nagkakaroon ng virus at contact. And sadly, sometimes, hindi na lang one person, minsan families. And idagdag mo pa dito ng perspective ng online distance learning. Kasi, lalo na sa mga parents na very anxious, paano ko sila tutulungan? Hindi ko nga alam ng mga bagay-bagay na ganyan. Hindi nga ako techie, hindi ako maano dito. So, these are the realities, the context that we have. Okay? And so, I think one of the things, okay, that to evaluate the online distance or distance learning is how do we prepare our children to the distance learning. Okay? So, here are just some questions that I have in mind. So, later po, makikita niyo po dun sa ginawa naming evaluation, how I put it in this particular sense. Of course, number one is learning expectation. Ano ba yung ine-expect natin matutunan nila ng ating mga anak? Okay? Kailangan ba? Anong level? Diba? If you try to look at many of our parents might not know what are the most essential learning competencies. Diba? So, ano nung learning expectation, or even in the very basic one, ano nung gusto nating matutunan? Naset ba natin yung gusto nating matutunan ng mga bata in this particular situation? That's first, our expectation. How do we know that our children are really learning? That's one thing that we have to evaluate. Second, our learning routines. May routine ba tayo? One of the things that is very challenging also in this particular setup is that our routines, para siyang na-flush, di ba? Kung dati, ito nung nagigising ka ng ganitong oras, papasok ka, you travel, this and that. So, merong certain routines kang sinusunod. Pero dahil that we are all at home, minsan, the time of when we wake up, hindi na natin alam, di ba? Hindi na natin alam. I think one of the challenges that we will be facing when we go hybrid or when we go back to that face-to-face is our body clock. Isa yan sa pinaka, kasi kung sanay tayong magising for one whole year ng ganitong oras and then you have to go back 3 hours before because of the travel time. Tapos yung mga bagay na kailangan mong gawin. So, ang daming kailangan. Have we set up a good learning routine for our children? That's another thing that we have to evaluate. Learning space. Okay? Do we have a space designated for our learners, for our children, pag nag-aaral sila? To be honest po, in my case, it's very difficult because me and my wife are working. Dalawa kaming teacher. And then we have 2 little ones na nag-aaral din. So, and we don't have a big house. We don't have a house where we can just set, this will be your learning space. This is where you will have your online learning. So, challenging yun, yung pa lang. But, sabi nga, in one of the webinars given by Dr. Queen Alichua, kahit isang space lang, basta make sure that there is a particular space na pag learning time, dito ka pupunta. That's one. At mahirap nga yan. That's also a challenging time for us. Learning time, not only offline or online but also offline. Diba? Yes, may mga synchronous, asynchronous activities. Pero aside from that, there are also offline activities. And if they're done with their work, how do we know that they're using it for learning? Diba? So, learning time. May oras ba tayong designated for that? And then, of course, one of the challenges is online safety. How do we know that our children are really safe, are in a safe haven when they're online, especially when they're online? Diba? So those are just some of the things that we have to look into as we prepare the learning, distance learning. So yun pa lang, marami na tayong pwedeng tignan. Diba? Ayan. So, just to share some of the things that were given sa ating chat box. Yes, mahirap, especially for working parents. I have 2 kids to attend to. Really need assistance to accomplish the task. So, paano mo hatiin ang sarili mo? May trabaho ka, tapos meron kang kailangan bantayan. Diba? Extended talaga yung patience ng teachers nowadays, primary. How much more yung mga parents na hindi lang, syempre, yung kailangan nilang tignan yung, i-attend yung kanilang mga anak. Meron pa silang mga chores na kailangan tapusin. Meron din silang sariling works. Paano natin nahatiin? So these are just some of the things that we can look into when we evaluate. Do I have expectations, routines, space, time, and do I set up a safe environment for my children? So those are just some things that we can evaluate as we move forward. Okay? Maybe this pandemic year, may mga lapses tayo. And again, we learn from that. Okay? So, we can improve now and make it better. We're not saying that by this coming, we will have a perfect time. Kasi, depende nga rin yan sa mga setup natin. Okay. Ito now, things that I think, as I was listening to Sir Jambi and Sir Franco, ito naisip ko lang. Kasi, after this, you will see that most of the things that I highlighted are also similar to what Sir Franco have mentioned, especially yung needs and yung mga difficulties. Pero may maganda akong nakita dito. I think it was Sir Wilson who mentioned it. Bonding moments and time with the kids. Yes, distance learning have been very challenging, but there are little wins. There are wins that we can actually look into. Ngayon, mas marami tayong oras sa ating mga anak. Diba? Nasusubaybayan natin sila. Those are little wins. So, I think to evaluate distance learning, we also have to evaluate our wins. Ano ba yung mga natutunan natin? Kung siguro dati hindi tayo masyadong techie, Ngayon, alam na natin kahit paano mag-Zoom. Or kahit paano, alam na natin, marami sa atin, ma-attend ng mga webinars, marami tayong natututunan. Those are little wins in this online setup. For our children, we get to know them better. Diba? There are moments that we will be able to know how they are, what are they doing. At least we have dialogue, we have conversations with them. We can have a check-up on them. Kamusta ka? Kamusta ang natututunan mo? Ano ba ng mga bagay na pinag-aralan mo ngayon? So, those are little wins. And I think we should not let them go. When we evaluate online business as a parent, we also have to look into our wins. Okay? Sabi nga ni Miss Rhea, we learn to value teachers and family in this online setting. So, those are wins. Those are wins. And we have to also evaluate that. Ano yung mga natutunan natin, mga little wins, mga panalo natin, kahit nandito tayo sa online setup nito. Then, of course, because it's a partnership, it's also good that we ask assistance. Ano nung pwedeng itulong ng school sa atin? Okay? Some of the things, I believe these are just some of the things that I remember when as a parent, I was asked to evaluate, okay, the program that we have in Xavier. So, the use of technology tools, kasi we are online distance learning. So, nagkaroon ba? May kailangan pa ba kayo? Kailangan nyo ba ng training on this one? Kailangan nyo ba ng assistant on how you will be able to assist your son, for example, in using this particular application? So, these are opportunities for us to also gauge ourselves, to make ourselves learn new things. So, using technology tools, that's one of the things that we might need, okay, that we need assistance. Second, monitoring, assisting children. Diba? How do we monitor our children? How do we assist our children? So, we can have that partnership with our school through feedbacking. So, monitoring. Okay po ba? Maganda ba yung monitoring ng school in terms of your children? Nagkakaroon ba ng parents conference para mas update kayo kung ano nung kamusta na ang inyong anak in this online setup? How can you be more of assistance to your children? The school will also give you that feedback. So, magandang tignan rin natin yon. Kailangan natin assistance and monitoring of our children. And that partnership will help us. Stress management. Ang mga parents natin, di ba? Marami sa atin na stress na nga. Pero kinakaya pa rin natin. Pero it's always good to recognize how we feel and do something about it. Di ba? Stress can be there. There's good stress, there are bad stress. But if you already have in the negative kind of stress, maybe a stress management. And many of the schools are willing to help us out in this particular endeavor. And of course, other support that you can ask for the school. I know for a fact that there are some parents who might have asked assistance to the teachers in terms of monitoring, in terms of minsan nga, actually it's the teachers who's giving more to the students. Nga rin na walang kakayahan para sa online, may mga ibang teachers na willing to help. So maybe when we air out our support, what we need from our schools, then it can also be a way for us to help out and improve our distance learning system now and in the next school year. Of course, aside from that, we have to also recognize the difficulties. I highlighted here 3 difficulties lang. Very general sila. Okay, so you can add on to that. Of course, learning distance learning challenges. If you are online, of course, one of the things that we have to recognize is that mahirap minsan ng intermittent internet. Okay? What else? If you're modular, nagkakaroon ba ng on time ba nung dating? Or paano ba nakaka-cope up ang ating mga anak in this online or distance learning setup? There are many challenges, especially if you're working, especially if walang nagbabantay. So we can air that out. These are difficulties. These are real difficulties. Management. It can be time management. It can be how we manage our children, behaviors, so forth and so on. So marami tayong pwedeng i-point out at itanong. At I know schools will always be of help to that. And of course, well-being. We always have to recognize that kapag nahirapan na tayo, we have to also look into that. So evaluate rin natin yan. And when we evaluate distance learning, kailangan kasama to. Okay? Our well-being in that particular sense. And then, eto dinagdag ko to. I added this because I think as a parent, these are all good reflection questions, good things to think about, especially that we're done or almost done with the online setup. Okay? So, some questions, personal reflections. How do we view learning? Paano ba natin tinitignan ang pagkatuto? Kasi minsan, we are so stressed. I remember, Dr. Quinali, minsan we're so stressed because we feel na kailangan ito nung grade ng anak natin. Pero ano ba talaga ang learning para sa atin? Kailangan ba tayo ang gumawa nun o kailangan ang mga bata ang matuto nito? Diba? Grades. How do we view grades? Are the grades something na kailangan mag-honor ka, anak? Or we view grades as more of opportunities for the students to really share and showcase kung ano natutunan niya without us looking into as if na yun lang nung mahalaga. We're not saying na hindi mahalaga yung grades po. We're not saying that grades are not important. They are. But sometimes there is such an obsession to having that particular grade na dapat ito nung makuha mong grade. And sometimes it puts pressure to our children that they are not really performing, not really learning because they're just aiming for the grade. So maybe a reframing of what grades are. We're not saying to not challenge them, but maybe to how do we look into it. Sabi nga, I remember, again, I will always try to share what Dr. Quinali have shared in one of our webinars. Growth rather than grades. Nakikita ba natin ng growth nila? O masyado tayong fixated sa grades? Because grades can be paralyzing. Failure, how do we view them? Na kapag na-fail ng anak natin, wala na. Okay? Pag hindi niya nakuha ng lesson niya, so wala na, fail ka na. So some things is our perspective now, failure is okay. How do we view difficulties? Is difficulty part of it? Kasi minsan, di ba, as parents, we look into, ayaw natin mahirapan ng mga anak natin. But maybe it's a perspective that we have to look into. Because if they will not fail, they might not be even learning. Kaya fail forward po kami. Kasi baka mamaya, masyado fixated na kailangan perfect siya, kailangan makuha niya lahat to. Minsan, failure, difficulties are part of it. Okay? Because learning should be reframed. So, some of the personal questions that we have to ask ourselves. And lastly, feedback po. I think mahalaga yung feedback from the perspective of the parents and from the perspective of the children. What do I mean by this? As a parent, you've seen one whole school year of online learning. Ano yung sa tingin ninyong maganda at hindi maganda, mga pwede pang improve. Feedback is something that is always and should be there. And also, maganda rin, tanungin natin ng mga anak natin. Kasi baka mamaya, ang perspective natin ay iba sa perspective ng children. I know for a fact, for example, that there are some children who have thrived in this distance learning. But I'm not saying everyone is. But there are some. Kasi baka mamaya very negative lang thinking natin na online mahirap yan, hindi ka matututo diyan or walang learning diyan. Tanungin rin natin mga anak natin, how do they learn from that? Okay? I think Sir Franco can help me now in showing yung template natin. Ayun. Yan. For parents evaluation, ayan po. Ito po ng mga nilagay ko lang do sa again, you can add to this. These are just some of the things that I think we can utilize. So first, so evaluation, evaluate the preparation of online distance learning. So do we establish routines? Is it evident, somewhat evident, moderate, highly evident on us? Do we establish learning spaces? Diba? Do we establish learning time? Kasi baka mahirap rin yun, baka mamaya ng mga anak natin parating online lang. Offline din, kailangan din nila. Diba? Especially our children today. Do we establish the learning expectations? Do we ensure safety online? So again, it can be evident, somewhat evident, moderate evident, high evident. Yan. Tapos sinagdag in relation to above question, can you provide explanation to your experience rating? Kasi maganda rin makita natin bakit kaya ano nung kulang. Kasi minsan, it's also a way for us to look into introspection. Bakit kaya ako nagkulang? Ano pa kaya nang pwede kong improve on that? Okay? How was your child's overall experience on distance learning? Kailangan marinig rin natin from our children. Kamusta ba sila sa online distance learning? And again, provide explanation to your child's learning. Yan, dinagdag ko lang to. Ito nung, sorry kaya parang medyo magulo siya. Dinagdag ko siya. What are your wins in this distance learning? Kasi kailangan rin natin i-celebrate yung mga victories natin. And then, what areas do you need most assistance with? So, technology use, monitoring assisting children, stress management, support from school, or any others. Pwede nyo pang dagdagan po yan. Then, kindly provide specific. Especially, mas maganda kung specific. For example, stress management, I cannot anymore do this. Nahirapan talaga ako mag-manage. Baka pwede. Kasi, I know there are programs. There are schools who have programs also for their teachers. Kasi nga, we are all in this together. Yeah. Then, which area did you encounter most difficulty? So, is it in the challenges, the internet connection, the modules, how do you be able to answer it? Management. So, again, it can be time management or even your well-being. Baka mamaya well-being na nung kailangan natin, nahirapan na talaga kayo, imbalance and everything. Let the school also know that particular. So, kindly provide explanation for your choices. Then, I added here, again, the mga personal reflection. How do you view learning? Because it's something that we as parents have to always look into. Okay? Can you move down konti, Sir Franco? Ayan. So, how do you view learning? How do you view grades? How do we view failure? How do we view difficulties? Okay, what are you afraid in relation to distance learning? Kasi kailangan din aware tayo ano ba nung talaga kinakatakot natin. And when we air it out, then we'll be able to have that dialogue with our school. Then, of course, your overall experience as parents in the distance learning. And, of course, your suggestions, comments to calibrate this one. Kasi mahalaga yun. Mahalaga magtulungan po tayo in this particular setup. Yes, it's challenging. Yes, there are many lapses, there are many failures, but at the end of the day, we're all in this together because our main goal is for our children to be better children. So, yun yung gusto natin eh. Na sila ay matututo kahit ganito ng setup natin. And hopefully, we don't know until when, but this particular learnings, we can move that further towards a better school year. So, that would be for my part. Hopefully, again po, dagdag lang po tayo. Kung may mga tanong po kayo with regards to that, you can also put it in the comment section. Thank you po for listening. Hopefully, mas nabigyan natin ng linaw kung ano man yung mga kailangan ng parents natin na tignan, evaluate in this distance learning.
Maraming salamat, Sir Jello, and we'll have you back later for the panel discussion. Let's now move on to our last speaker for today, which will be sharing perhaps no last aspect, pero definitely not the least aspect. No? Kasi ito yung isa pinaka-importante kasi sila talaga yung nababad sa distance learning. So let's welcome Teacher Pau to give us naman the possible evaluation questions to be asked to our students.
Hello. Thank you, Teacher Franco. Okay, I hope my audio is actually clear. So, for a while, I will just have to share my screen with you. Okay. So, as mentioned by Sir Franco, definitely not the least. Actually, we're doing the evaluation tool because of them. No, we are evaluating distance learning because of them. All right, because we want to provide the best possible education, whether you are an administrator, you're a teacher, or you're a parent. You want to provide the best education possible for our students. And therefore, I would consider them as one of the most important stakeholders of our group. Okay. So, we are now evaluating distance learning based on the student's POV. All right. For a while. Okay. I'm not sure if it's moving.
Yes,
All
Teacher Pao,
right.
it's moving.
Okay naman. Okay,
Okay
sige.
na.
So, all right. So, I am Pao Mendoza. That's my Twitter and Instagram handle. But I'm soon to back in the field of teaching and currently an IB program coordinator at our school. So most definitely, it's very important that we look into how our students perceive distance learning, specifically for this school year. So why do we actually evaluate? This has been mentioned a lot of times during the talk, so I'll keep it short. No, evaluation is creation. Hear it, you creators. Evaluating is itself the most valuable treasure of all that we value. It is only through evaluation that value exists. And without evaluation, the knot of existence would be hollow. Hear it, you creators. From Friedrich Nietzsche. Okay, ang hirap basahin ng pangalan niya is a philosopher. But indeed, no, we do evaluation because we want to add value to learning. That's the very essence of evaluating. No? If I'm sure if we are teachers, we've gone through different subjects, and one of our subjects would pertain to creating a valid and reliable assessments. How do you assess? How do you evaluate? What's the difference between assessment and evaluation? That's not part of our discussion today, but we are going to focus on putting value. No, so we are putting value to what our stakeholders would tell us. Okay. All right. So one of the models of instructional design that I came across, actually this is very new to me, but I see it as something that is very powerful. The ADI, when we do our instructional design, we first try to analyze, a specific project. Okay, then we design. After we design something, we develop the instrument, develop the tools, everything else, and then once we are done with development, we implement. After implementation, hindi pa po tayo tapos. No? You evaluate. Okay? And this is our focus now, to evaluate. In this stage, we determine if our training or if our tools, if our instruction was successful or not. We use assessments of performance, such as feedback materials, to determine if our students were able to meet the objectives and the goals of the course that we actually projected. And then after evaluation, we analyze again. And it is a cycle. It is a cycle so that we learn, relearn, unlearn things so that we provide the best education possible. Another way to actually look at the ADI model is this one. Okay? So this is very specific to the learning of our students. So we have here, you really analyze first, you design. So ang dami na po nating webinars on design. I'm very sure that you have attended at least one on designing your lessons. Okay? But then you also have trainings on development of your lessons, development of your tools. Maraming-marami ang YouTube channel ni Sir Franco ng Kaagapay, ang dami po nating makukuha from there. And then, after we did develop these tools, we implement. We implement the learner, the lessons. We hold our classes, we distribute the modules. And then after that, we do evaluate if our learning, and which is the end product, is actually effective. And make, okay, after mong malaman, nagkaroon ng value. Kasi usually naman pag evaluation, talagang may number, no? We make the necessary updates and cycle, then back to the analysis phase. All right? Now, okay. So what is the shift that happened, no? What is the shift that happened to us this school year? Gone are the days when the classrooms are filled with with the chairs and the teacher is standing in front. And I'm not saying all, no, I'm sure a lot of teachers here have modified already how we are actually teaching. A lot of teaching techniques have evolved. And kasi yan ang nakikita natin, o pag teacher, nagle-lecture siya, ganyan. But in this distance learning, we have to look into what changed. And one change is definitely a teacher is not just the one who teaches in an online class. Again, using a whiteboard cannot be. Okay? The teacher now is a facilitator. Ang dami niyang fina-facilitate. Nagmo-monitor siya. If we are doing, for example, Zoom, no, or Google Meet, if we are doing online synchronous classes, the teachers actually manage the classroom. Attendance, kamusta ba yung bata, ano itsura ng bata, nakakonect ba, hindi nakakonect, okay, naka-turn in na ba ng assignment, o wait lang, naging lagi yung connection, nakabukas ba yung camera. Ang daming nangyayari sa loob ng 30 minutes. Hindi mo na alam kung paano mo i-handle. But as a teacher, you are expected, no, to stimulate interaction without bias, promote a safe classroom, a safe environment, na kahit nasa loob ng virtual setting, no, kasi syempre 'di ba na meron na tayong cases where students don't feel safe in the internet, no? The teacher still listens to the students. There's still structure in the discussion. Meron at meron pa rin 'yan. And then questions to challenge thinking and create new possibilities. Not reactive to groups, proactive tayo kung ano nangyari, anong hindi nagawa. Proactive si teacher. Not too rigid, no, to allow necessary conversation. Kumbaga, pag nakita yung bata, oh, hindi ka nagsasubmit, wala nang ibang narinig kundi gano'n. So yung bata, okay ma'am, sige po ma'am, try ko na lang po ulit ma'am. So yung bata, taken aback. No? So the teacher has to be very what do you call this? Very flexible. Then she should be able to connect with a group and should be able to provide feedback, timely feedback as well. And of course, social intelligence, no, to be able to connect to the students. So these qualities of a great facilitator, sinong recipient niyan? It's actually the students. No, we develop the teacher from admin to teachers. Kanina we have been discussing. We have to make sure that you are able to deliver the lesson so that the student can receive it. The question is, na-receive ba? No? So at this point, where are our students now? You know, the teachers have been we have seen the chat box, a number of webinars you have attended, kabi-kabila, kumakain sa harap ng computer para lang hindi makamiss ng kung anumang webinar na ina-attendan. But where are our students now? No, we are so focused, of course, in developing our own skills. But have we asked again, where are our students? Okay, definitely not on these chairs anymore, but at the comforts of their home. But where are they there? Okay. So at this point, it requires us as teachers to be reflective and to pass on this skill to the students to be reflective as well. So being reflective, we actually thoughtfully consider the world and our own ideas and experience. We work to understand our strengths and weaknesses in order to support our learning and personal development. Exactly what an evaluation is all about. Okay, you cannot answer an evaluation tool without being reflective. For any evaluation tool to successfully work, one has to understand what the purpose is. Later on, I will try to encapsulate all the some of the things that we have to remember when we create an evaluation tool. Okay, being reflective. Okay, if I may just quote Margaret Wheatley, without reflection, we go blindly on our way, creating more unintended consequences and failing to achieve anything useful. Yung sabi nga ni Sir Jambi kanina, wala namang sakit, ba't mo gagamutin? Parang ganon. No? So, reading without reflecting is like eating without digesting. Okay, as Edmund Burke has said. Okay. So basically, what is the purpose of student evaluation? Why is it actually needed? No, we have had administrators, parents' point of view, teachers' point of view. Why do we need the student evaluation? Number one, for administrators, it is definitely to give them, to provide them opportunity to make informed decisions that will affect the implementation of the course programs or the or how distance learning works. No, because they have the power. No, they have the power to make the changes. Now, for teachers, the purpose of getting the student evaluation is to create instructional design suited for students' capacity and ability. And the third one, of course, what's in it for the students? No, bakit ako mag-a-answer ng evaluation tool? Para saan ba yan? May grade ba yan? No, but when we ask our students to actually do the evaluation tool, we tell them that it's their opportunity to express their needs as customers of education. Now, if you are in a business, you have customers and you want to get feedback from your customers because you want to gain more information about your product, if there's anything to be improved or anything that has to be continued. No, we have to highlight also their active role in distance learning setting. If they don't tell us anything, we wouldn't know anything. Okay? Marami sa atin ang may cases, I think, especially for public schools na modular. I think I saw my friend's post na nakalagay na puro pula na ata yung Excel sheet niya kasi parang walang submission na parang pag hindi ka nag-submit, ganyan. Tapos parang sa akin, nasaan ba yung mga bata? No? Have we really gone to them? Good if we did. No, I'm sure a lot of our teachers take the extra mile to even go to their houses, to their homes, talk to their parents, talk to the student. No, but again, meron nga nagsasabi talaga, distance learning is really not for them. It's actually a challenge for most of the students. No, but others do thrive in this environment. So we'll just have to strike a balance on this. Okay. So that's the purpose. Now, what are some concerns on student evaluations? Why some wouldn't want student evaluations? Number one, they say there's lack of reliability and validity due to student inexperience or background as assessors. Kasi, di ba, mga bata pa sila, hindi pa nila alam kung paano to. Di ba, kung ano nangyayari, kung anong effect, or paano ba dapat hindi sumasagot ng may bias. Ayan, may part dyan na bias, no? Or wala naman tong silbi. 'Di ba? Ano bang yun ang patakbo ng school or ganun talaga ako magturo wala siyang magagawa. No? Gone are those days. No, kasi nga we are gearing towards a student-centered classroom. That is our goal because basically they're the clients. They're the ones that we are actually working for. 'Di ba? Meron ngang tagline na para sa bata. 'Di ba? And some student evaluations, one size fits all. And nasabi na nito ni Sir Jambi before na you cannot use whatever tool you used last year for this year. Definitely not. Because your environment has changed, your methods have changed, definitely. The kinds of students, how they are, actually meron yang okay nung face-to-face, biglang nung online distance learning, hindi na nag-function. No? So we really have to cater to that. And then summative nature hinders teaching improvement. siguro sana hindi na natin masyadong gawing siguro for administrators, no, student evaluation should not be used to rate technically yung makakaapekto sa sweldo ng teacher kapag mababa ang student evaluation, but you really go to the purpose or to the core of the student evaluation. Kung yun talaga yung assessment, then dun tayo mag-focus. Hindi dun sa number talaga na dala niya, pero kung ano yung pwedeng magagawa para ma-improve, no? And then, quantification of teaching pedagogy. And there's a lot. There's a lot to grade, no? So, parang hindi naman yan alam ng mga bata paano nila kami i-grade on teaching. But, definitely, kung paano kasi nila natin-perceive kung paano tayo nagtuturo, yun yung kailangan nating malaman. No? All right. So, one source that we will actually share to you is a dissertation presented to the Faculty of Graduate School at the University of Missouri, Columbia by Ms. Martha Henkel last May 2007, entitled Evaluating Distance Education, the Student Perspective. No, so some of the sharings that I have today were based on what I have taken from her document. Okay. Now let's just go briefly into the K-12 Philippine Basic Education Curriculum. We know this, no? Our goal is for the students to be a whole person, no? And there are different facets to look at it. And so, of course, there are different learning areas, the support system, the skills, how have we been responding to their needs. And so, these are some of the aspects of the tool that we can actually use for evaluating distance learning. Okay, number one, of course, hindi mawawala yan, course content. Have we actually targeted the goals, or have we actually achieved the learning outcomes, no? Pinakamadaling way to actually write a tool here is to base it on your objectives themselves. So meron ka ng objective, i-turn mo na lang siya into a phrase or a form worth of an evaluation tool. Okay? And then instructional design. This instructional design should be catered to the needs of the students in distance learning. So it has to make sure na you are in the context of distance learning, now when you are designing the tool. And then, of course, the assessments, you let them evaluate the assessments. You also let them evaluate the use of technology. No, if there's one thing that's very new to how we do our evaluation tool, your previous evaluation tool can still work, but you just need to make some modifications, like adding the use of technology. And then, student support. When we do our student support, of course, we have to know. No, we have to know kasi kailangan nating malaman nasaan nga ba sila. No, okay pa ba sila? Kung tayong mga teacher tinatanong natin, okay pa ba tayo? O sila, okay pa ba sila? No? So topics may include instructional design, access to resources, the different pacing of lessons, the environment that they have, the pedagogy or the teaching method that you have used, and the tools used, the variety, the accessibility, the convenience, and the adaptability. Okay. So when constructing an evaluation tool, there are 8 philosophies from Willis on how it should be conducted. Okay, number 1, since we know, of course, that they are, of course, not trained, they should at least be made aware that the evaluation data will not be considered in assigning grades. O kailangan mataas ako evaluate mo, kasi ganito yan eh. Hindi po, no? It should not in any way be connected to any grade that will be given to a student. Okay? Number 2, with the use of formative evaluation, students should be informed why information is being collected and how it will be used. And you can do that in your in the stem of your evaluation tool. Number 3, with the use of the summative evaluation, students should be informed where, when, and how they may review the results of the evaluative effort. Okay, how this can possibly affect, the changes that will happen the following school year. Okay. Number 4, summative evaluation should never preclude major tests or assignment deadlines. Wag na wag po kayong magpapa-evaluate ng may na magte-test pa lang sila or hindi pa sila natutulog kasi marami pa silang tinatapos, no? Sigurado po tayo hindi po magiging maganda ang magiging result. Okay? And then number 5, evaluation should strictly be anonymous. We don't want parents or teachers. No, I think it's more on the parent side na ayoko mag-evaluate kasi baka balikan yung anak ko eh. Okay? Evaluation should strictly be anonymous. So if it is possible that an evaluation team that holds all the evaluation tool better, no? You can forward questions. You know, questions for the evaluation tool may be given by the department, by the area, the subject area, forward it to your research department or your evaluation department, and they will be the ones to process it. And then what you will receive are just the results so that it's out of bias. Okay? And that you can get the best possible feedback from the students themselves. Okay? Number 6, detailed responses should be encouraged without using threatening large blocks of blank space. Sobrang laki nung nilagay mong space. Makikita naman natin yan sa Google Forms. Sobrang laki nung nilagay mong space. Sabi ng bata, anong kailangan ko isulat dito? Ang dami ba? Gano'n. Diba? So, hindi naman kailangan sobrang laki kasi evaluation naman siya. Okay? Then, number 7, evaluation questions should be brief and focused. And last one is that appropriate quantitative and qualitative evaluation techniques should be followed. All right? So, of course, we have had courses before on quantitative and qualitative techniques. And I hope we can apply that in doing the evaluation tool. All right. So at this point, I will be asking again the help of Sir Franco for the evaluation tool that I have that I will present for the students' evaluation. So this is the part where I said that the students have to be informed where it will be used. So let me just read it to you. This section explores the perspective of the student. The results of this evaluation will be summarized after all respondents have answered the form. The data will be treated with utmost confidentiality. Please take time to read and understand each question carefully. Your responses will greatly help contribute in improving the course program, the curriculum, the activities next school year, and the implementation of distance learning in general. Please make sure you have answered all applicable questions before clicking the submit button. This statement here is very important so that the students are actually aware why they need to evaluate something. And that is actually their chance to provide feedback to us. And we should not be taking it personally in any way. And in any way naman, it should be taken in confidentiality naman. Kaya mas magandang may third party. No? All right. Now, so let's look at some of the aspects that I touched on when I made the instructional design. So, strongly agree, disagree, agree, and strongly agree. This is Likert scale, if you're very familiar with it. We recommend to use 4-point scale or an even point scale. Just so not to give the students that opportunity to be neutral about it. If they really agree or not agree. Hindi pwedeng in the middle lang. Okay? So, nasa 4-point scale tayo. Alright. So, the things that we can actually write here, siguro, syempre, i-work out pa natin yung consistency of the statements. But these are some things that we can actually use in evaluating distance learning. Sir Franco, if we can expand the questions. The teaching there. Okay, hindi ko pa rin siya nakita. Okay, the teaching method is appropriate for the... Alam ko na, Teacher Franco. Pwede mo siguro ilagay yung yung preview niyan. Kita ba sa preview? Yan. Wow, natetest tayo sa Google Forms. Alright. Ayan. Kunwari sasagot si Teacher Franco. Ayan, makikita ni Teacher Franco. Para lang makita ko. Student tayo. Ay, nakalink na ba tayo? Okay. Ayan. Okay. Ay, napunta tayo sa parent. Sige, for a while Ayan, sige, balik na lang tayo dyan, Teacher Franco. Okay, so let's look at, for a while Okay, sa teacher tayo. Okay. So we look at the instructional design. The teaching method is appropriate for the DL modality. Basta nakadefine na yung DL modality, that's already fine. Okay? Kasi gusto natin i-check yon. The second one is the activities provided for student interaction. Okay? Kasi kailangan pa rin yun kahit na nasa distance learning ka. No? And when we talk about student interaction here, hindi lang si teacher yung discuss. No? Or kung modular naman yan, meron pa rin bang way si student to interact with the teacher? No? Number 3 is that the teacher provided opportunities for collaboration. Student to student naman yan. Kasi hindi siya dapat mawala. The fourth one is the lessons are relevant. Yan. The lessons are relevant through presentation of, ano yan nakalagay? Of real-life applications. All the more, mas kailangan natin real-life applications sa bahay na sila, i-maximize na natin yun. No? And that's how our teaching should be. And then we have students' readiness. Students' background and readiness are actually assessed. This is one thing na maganda in an evaluation form. No? Isama nyo doon kung talagang na-check yung students' background and readiness. Okay? The sixth one is the pacing of the lesson is appropriate. May mga batang nabibilisan, nababagalan, or kulang akong time mag-work sa module, teacher, habaan mo pa yung submission mo, hindi ko talaga kaya or hindi ko naintindihan. Okay? Number 7, it's also important for us to know if you are doing online classes, is the length of the synchronous sessions adequate? Masyado ba mahaba? Masyado ba maikli? Okay? Next is, okay. The amount of asynchronous task is justifiable. Okay? Yan. Teacher Franco may inaayos lang. But the 8th one is, the amount of asynchronous task is justifiable. Baka naman nalulunod na yung bata. Kaya tayo nagkakaroon ng mga meme na sila parent na po ang nagsasagot ng module. Kasi hindi po kaya, hindi age appropriate, hindi justifiable yung module na nagawa. No, alam natin pinaghirapan ng teacher, no? But we don't take it personally. Again, we don't. Because we want to gain feedback. Hindi pala ready yung bata for that kind. Or dapat pala sa age niya kaya na yon, pero dahil may na-miss siya the previous year, hindi pa siya mag-work. Okay? So it's very important that we look into that part, no? That the amount of asynchronous task given is justifiable. Then, prompt feedback is provided to inform learning. Baka naman collect ng module hanggang ngayon, wala tayong naibigay na kahit anong grade. Kung nakapagpasa na, no? Syempre, kapag hindi nakapagpasa, ikinalulungkot nating mga teacher yan. Pero, again, we just have to know. No? We just have to know what's happening to them. And then, a possible question would be, scaffolding is available to ensure success in the course. Okay, there are steps to help them, no? Na kapag hindi mo to nagawa, basahin mo pa to, o panoorin mo to, or puntahan mo to, or tumawag ka sa akin using the official platform para maturuan kita or something like that. Okay? And then supplementary materials are given to assist corrective or further study of the course. So those are the things, some of the things that can be used. Again, mas marami pa ang pwede, depending on your context. No, we are just providing examples on how you can curate your evaluation tool. Okay. The second part that I placed here is student support, especially in distance learning. When you do the evaluation tool, please make sure that you do it side by side. So cube ba yun? Square ba yun? Okay? With the admin, with the teacher, with, hindi na nga siya triangulate kasi apat na yan no? Pero dapat, may kita mo all sides. So, parang yung sasabihin ko ngayon, nasabi na ni Sir Jello. For example, I have access to consultations with my teachers after synchronous class. Okay. Hindi pala yan, kay Sir Franco pala yan. So, na-i-provide ba yun ng teachers and at the same time, natanggap ba siya ng bata? Alam ba niya na meron siyang access? Okay? Or nagawa ba niya yon? And then, I have access to additional online and offline resources. Okay. Next one, I am provided support at home by my family while studying via distance learning. Number 4, I have a conducive learning environment at home. Note, these are all in first person. Kasi gusto nating maramdaman ng bata, sila talaga yung tinatanong natin, o pag binasa ko to, meron nga ba, wala ba? Baka dito mo makita, ay wala pala. Hindi pala kasi okay yung bahay. Wala pala talagang support sa perception ng bata. Baka akala ng parent na bibigay niya, pero hindi pala. Now, it's very important to actually hear them out as well. And then, I am accorded support. I have the necessary technologies to aid me in distance learning. I am accorded support when needed in accomplishing given tasks. I am able to monitor my own learning habits and manage my time well. You know, one of the key skills here in distance learning is self-management. And that is, I think, one of the things that we have to know if our students are actually doing. Kasi maraming hindi kaya. No? Na hindi pa sila engaged na sila mismo yung magte-take charge of their own learning. Okay? And then the third one that I placed here is the use of technology. So in the use of technology, was the choice of the application or technology appropriate for the course? Okay? Okay lang ba yung ginamit na application ni teacher? Okay? Kung okay lang, were instructions on how to use the technology provided? No? Tinuruan ba ako ni teacher kung paano gumamit? O basta sinabi niya, buksan mo to. Basta makinig ka, ganon. No? Pero kailangan, syempre, bibigyan mo ng instruction. Then, alternative tools were available in case of inaccessibility of the primary tool. No? Alam natin, hindi naman kasi lahat nakaka-access, for example, ng Gmeet. O may other options ka pa ba? Pag mahina ang signal, pag hindi kaya ng bandwidth, anong option? Okay? And then, the technology used enhanced student engagement. The teacher can seamlessly navigate the tools used. No? Kasi pwede rin nilang i-evaluate technically si teacher. Pero yung mga questions ko rito is particular to the experience of the student. No? So the teacher can seamlessly navigate the tools used. Or baka naman si teacher pa yung lito-lito. No? Go with what you are comfortable with. Again, ang daming na-present, ang daming yung webinars na inatenan dito pa lang sa kaagapay. You have to really make sure that you can seamlessly use it. Because kapag kayo ang nag-falter, makikita rin ng bata yun. So what more could they expect from themselves kung si teacher mismo hindi niya masyado kabisado? Although alam naman natin our students are very tech-oriented, no? And then, adequate technical support was provided for difficulties encountered. No, teacher, hindi talaga ako makakonect. Ano nang pwede kong gawin? Teacher, hindi ko masubmit. Ikiklik ko na lang, hindi ko talaga masubmit. Bakit? Ano nangyari? Okay, so dapat meron tayong available tool. And then, while there is a Likert scale available there, we also encourage you to put questions, open-ended questions, so that the students can freely express themselves. So nakita nyo to, it's a paragraph, pero hindi threatening yung space niya. No? What were the challenges that you encountered this school year? Or what support will you be needing in order to help you succeed next school year? As short as that. No? Pag sinabi ng bata, wala, okay na ako. So be it. No? But we do encourage you to provide qualitative questions as well so that you get to know more about the context and you just don't rely on the numbers. No? On the numbers. Okay. So basically, that's everything that we have to know about student evaluation, and I'm sure naman na-present na rin different principles, different pedagogies. It's a matter of interlacing them together, all of the four evaluation tools. Yeah. So thank you so much for listening. So Sir Franco, yan. What's up next? Bilang nakamute ka ulit. Wala talaga,
Ayan,
Sir
okay na?
Frank. Ako lang
Okay
ba?
na?
Okay na?
Okay na,
Okay na.
yan. Hindi ko lang napindot ng
Okay.
maayos, no? Okay. So yan, maraming salamat, no, teachers. I think well appreciated ng mga teachers natin yung session for today, no? And again, teachers, we like parang paulit-ulit na tayo, parang sirang plaka na tayo sa pagsusorry about extension, no? Siguro kailangan natin, iset natin sa 3 hours na po, no, ang regular webinar ng Kaagapay. Kasi mukhang ganun na po yung nagiging trend natin. But I think, I hope teachers, sana po na-appreciate natin yung session natin for today. And talagang madami po tayo nakuha, no? And the intention really was to give you, no, all the instrument, the perspective of all the stakeholders ng education, from the parents, from the administrators, from the teachers, and also for the students. Okay? And again, lahat po yung teachers will I'll post it now, no? We can download all the resources, including the template, no? Via this link, no? So just have to go to our website, no? Sites.google.com/access.edu.ph /kaagapay/resources. Yan. Ano natin. Okay? So, siguro, Sir Jambi, we can entertain some questions, okay, while I'm preparing our evaluation.
Sir Jackie, meron
Yes.
lang ako nakita. May nakita ko kanina kasi hindi ako naka-monitor sa chat kanina. Pero sabi is bawal daw kasi mag-home visit. Definitely no. It's not safe for everyone to go out, no. But ang kagandahan po nito, kaya po ginawa rin to ng kaagapay, no, is because we are providing alternative ways to gain evaluation from the parents, no. So, kung whatever way that we can actually do it, mas madali nga actually ngayon. At mas madali, pinadali ng ng form na ito ang pag-collate ng information, no. So we can actually do it online, and the parents can actually answer it, the students can actually answer it, so that we are informed what's actually happening at home, no. So it's
Yes, no.
very unseparate.
And Teacher Pao, no, dahil Google Form yung gamit natin, hindi siya ganun kabigat pagdating sa mobile data or bandwidth use. No? Lalo hindi naman tayo gumamit ng mga photos o kaya mga images or videos no sa form natin. So it should be not as difficult to answer it or to navigate. No? Siguro ano lang, by the way, no, pakita lang natin, Sir Jambi, Sir Jello, Teacher Pao, no? Because teachers, if you notice, ang ating pong form na ibibigay sa inyo ay collective. Hindi po yan magkakaiwalay, no? So yung form na ginamit natin, yung template natin actually contains everything na. Okay? So it will contain the teacher's evaluation, the student's evaluation, the administrator's evaluation, and also the parents' evaluation. Anong purpose nun? Para po hindi nakakalito masyado no, na iba't ibang link pa ang ibibigay natin sa mga respondents natin. Plus, all the data could be curated in one Google Sheet, and pwede naman siyang i-sort later on. Okay? So, Teacher Pao, Sir Jambi, and Sir Jello, this is how it looks, no, teachers? Sorry, balik lang ako ba't ako nasa pala ako? Nasa preview pala ako. So, teachers, what happens here is that sa first section ng form natin, no, optional yung name as mentioned by Teacher Pao kanina. There's really no need for the name actually. Wala naman tayong paggagamitan na, no? Hindi naman siya sasama talaga for analytics, no? Kaya we don't need to collect that. Only if you want, no? Pero again, we cannot impose that, okay? So we did not require it. Then, here, you have a question on, please choose from which perspective or role will you be evaluating? So pipili na kagad dito yung mga respondents natin. Pagkapili nila teachers, pupunta na sila dun sa section ng evaluation form nila. So for example, if a parent choose that he is a parent or she is a parent, she will go to the evaluation form of the parents. Okay? And then, in the evaluation form of the parents, sa section na yon, okay, sa bottom part, okay, it will now redirect the parents, no, or the respondent to submit the form. So last time pinag-usapan natin, what if may multiple perspectives yung respondents, no? Teacher siya, parent siya. So paano yun? Okay? For the sake of not allowing multiple entries, parang isang entry lang yung masubmit niya, we're not going to allow na, no, taking on multiple perspectives. So pipili na lang siya anong gusto niyang i-evaluate his from the parent's perspective ba or teacher's perspective. Pipili na lang. So here sa dulo ng form, we will now ask, no, them to submit the form. Yan. Ayusin na lang namin, teachers, no, yung mga settings natin. Pero submit the form na siya after that. Okay? So again, we'll be sending this to you later on. So that's how you can make, that's how the form works, teachers. Okay. Okay. Yan. Go. Sir Jambi, Sir Jello, insights or may question po tayo? Mukhang wala po tayong question.
Actually, meron, Sir Franco. There's a question
go ahead po.
I want to address sana.
Go ahead, Sir Jambi. Hanapin ko.
Sure. But the question goes, what do you think about letting the students form the evaluation or create the evaluation form by them or themselves? This is actually very much related to what we have all been mentioning about involving the stakeholders. Not necessarily ask them to do the form, but include them in the planning of the evaluation tool. So in as much as we include or the administrators include the teachers in the evaluation tool of the teachers, let's also include perhaps the parents when we ask them to evaluate, and let's also include the students when we ask them to evaluate. Kasi yun nga, meron talaga tayong mamimiss out. There will really be at least one thing that we're going to miss out na sila lang yung nakakaisip. So, yeah, that's a good suggestion, sir. Include them.
Correct, ma. Correct. Go ahead, Sir Jello. Ay.
Follow up lang kay Sir Jambi. Maganda nga talaga. Hello? Yan. It is really good that we include the stakeholders in the way we evaluate. I don't know if this would help because one of the things that some schools are doing is also, aside from the evaluation, I think before they really form the formal evaluation, they also have focus group discussion where
Correct.
they ask set of students, they ask parents, they ask teachers to be involved in that discussion. And from there, they will see all the perspective. And when they do the evaluation, mas holistic. It's holistic in that particular sense.
Tsaka sir,
salamat.
dito rin pumapasok po yung importance of the student government, the parents association. Ayan. So, wag po natin baliwalain yung mga na yun, yung mga associations na yun kasi they do more than just raise funds. Or
mga agency of information din yan eh.
Correct. So, kasama po sila usually sa mga na yan, sa mga planning stages na yan.
Correct. Actually, aside from that, na mentions, go ahead, sir. Teacher Pao, go ahead.
Okay. Sinabi natin na parang wag po natin silang baliwalain. Actually, one way to actually put it is wag tayong matakot sa feedback. I think that's also one thing na ayaw natin minsan na ine-evaluate tayo kasi naku, may mali akong ginawa. Pero kasi, kung hindi mo nga malalaman kung ano yung mali mong nagawa, baka ulitin mo siya, o di mali ulit. 'Di ba? So,
yes, correct.
Kaya nga yung tema natin ngayon is really to fail forward. When you fail, you know what needs to be done, then you do something about it, no? So wag tayong matakot talaga na malaman yung feedback from them, no? And we don't take it personally.
Correct. Yes. Actually, same lang naman yan as teachers, di ba? Pag nagbibigay tayo ng feedback sa mga students natin, yan din yung sinasabi natin sa kanila. Don't be afraid of our feedback, no? And also, always ponder or reflect on your failures, no? Ay, gusto ko lang i-add, no? Doon sa sinabi ni Sir Jambi at Sir Jello kanina. Aside from like involving them through focus groups o kaya talagang soliciting their ideas about the form, we can always employ, no, yung tinatawag nating empathy maps, no, or empathy strategy sa design thinking. Na pag nag-iisip tayo, for example, when we're constructing the form, we're putting ourselves, no, into the shoes of the students, for example, into the shoes of the parents, no. Kaya nga ngayon, teachers, no, kung napansin niyo po, lahat kami na nag-ano ngayon, na nag-discuss ngayon ng areas namin, one way or another, we have a very strong affinity dun sa mga areas na yun. Sir Jambi is an administrator right now. Yan, Sir Jambi. Si Sir Jello, no? Baliktad pala. Sir Jello ay isang parent, no? At saka si Teacher Pao, mali ba yung turo ko? Teacher Pao, no? Ay nag-handle siya ng ano, no? Ng maraming estudyante sa school nila, of course. So giving that perspective. Of course, ako naman isang teacher. So we also take that perspective. So napakahalaga nung ano yan. So maraming salamat for that question. I think this is Sir Waban from other country to, no? I forgot, Egypt yata, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Egypt. Yan yung kanina ko pa
Yeah, from
nakikita.
Egypt. Yes, okay. Hanapin ko lang para may baba ko yung comment. Any other questions, teachers? Admin, may nakita ba kayong question or comments before we show the evaluation? Okay, so mukhang wala na, no? So, habang nagkukwentuhan po kami, at pag-uusapan pa namin itong session na to, teachers, let me now show you, or you can now start the evaluation, teachers. Okay? So, this is the evaluation link. No? Please do check if it works. If it not, baka po hindi kayo nagbayad ng GCash, kaya po hindi nyo na-access. Okay, just kidding. Biglang, may GCash na ba ngayon? That will not happen. Okay? So, please do it, teachers, no? You can use the QR code or the link, no, May Series P3 for the evaluation. Please be mindful of the information, your name, your email, para po ma-send namin po sa inyo ang inyong certificates.
Yes. Working naman.
So
may nakita pa ako, Sir Franco, na question kay Sir Mohammed Waban pa rin.
Ito may halaman natin mamaya, no? Pero merong recent question dito. Maybe our admins can address. Can we add indicators for stakeholders and community partners aside from the parents to capture the insights and feedback on how distance learning went in school they are supporting? So this is beyond, no, the 4 stakeholders that we covered. Actually, pwede naman, no? Pero siguro, no, may I just recommend, I think this is context to context na. Kasi, for example, if you think that your school has a very strong community partner that actually, no, influences or impacts, no, the distance learning implementation, that by all means po, sama po natin sila sa evaluation. Yun nga lang, teachers, no, wala siya sa instrument na ginawa namin. So you might have to construct your own questions. Pero for example, yung school niyo talaga, hindi naman strong yung wala silang community partner din, baka hindi natin kailangang mag-collect ng information from there. So it's a case-to-case basis. No? Yan. Teacher Pao, nakita mo na ba yung question ni Mr. Waban para ma-address natin? Post natin yung link sa chat, no, as requested by Teacher Lorena. Okay. Well, just do that, no? Teacher Lorena.
Babalikan ko.
Okay. Sir Jello, Sir Jambi, baka meron kayong tips on how do we efficiently manage, implement, or make use of this evaluation? Meron ba tayong mga kailangan tandaan? Yan, posted na po, Teacher Lorena. Siguro una-una, no, although na-mention na to ni Teacher Pao. Teacher Pao, no, may na-mention siya kay Teacher Pao kanina to inform your respondents. I think that's true for all. Okay? Kailangan across na your administrators, your parents, your teachers should be informed about the instrument. Lalo na kasi question yan yung pag gumagamit tayo ng scale, ano ibig sabihin ng ano? Ano ibig sabihin ng somewhat evident, or ano ibig sabihin ng moderately evident or highly evident? So we have to also talk about that, no? Or maybe explain in a town hall meeting maybe para mas maano natin, no? Okay? So meron ba tayong mga tip? Go ahead, Sir Jambi.
I think very necessary din na lahat ng sasagot naiintindihan nila what it is for. Pare-pareho tayo ng pinanggagalingan na it's not to to find fault, Hindi siya necessarily to support change. Yung ifo-force mo yung data kasi meron ka ng ipopropose na change. Hindi ganun dapat. Okay? So, dapat yung parents na sasagot, yung students na sasagot, teachers and administrators, at pare-pareho sila ng pinanggagalingan. So, magandang idea yung sinabi ni Sir Franco na town hall. Siguro start kayo, panoorin nyo tong 3-hour webinar. Panoorin nyo.
Oo, di ba? Or pwede nyo na ipapanood to, di ba? Kung malaking babaguhin doon sa tool, di ba? Oh, watch this before we have our evaluation. And again, available naman yan lagi, no? Maraming salamat, Sir Jumpy, no? I think also, no, Sir Jumpy, Sir Jello, at Teacher Pao, madalas din itong nangyayari. Yung tinatawag natin na, I don't know, I don't know there's a term for that, pero yung nasa-shelf yung data. So, nag-collect, for example, nag-evaluate, tapos isa-shelf na lang yung data. Hindi talaga nagagamit. So, teachers, no, these data are not for documentation. Hindi po tayo nagdo-document lang ng nangyari sa atin, no, for the past year. What we're doing is we're trying to improve. So, gamitin natin. Okay? So, for example, pag nag-usap tayo about curriculum planning for next year, pag nag-usap tayo about strategies, let's build on this data. Okay? Gamitin itong mga data na to para talagang, yun nga sinasabi natin, no, data-driven yung actions natin. Hindi hula-hula lang o kaya pakiramdaman or alam natin may politika din minsan sa pagko-construct, no, ng mga curriculum, ng guidelines, etc. So at least we are data-driven.
Actually,
okay, Sir Franco. Ayan, sige, Sir.
Sorry. Kaya dapat ang data din, ang results ng data rather, sinishare. Hindi siya dapat humingi ka ng data from the parents and the students, tas wala na, hindi na nila alam kung ano yung results ng data. Para ayun nga, pati din sila kasi they could come up with plans, they could come up with projects that are based on the data.
Okay.
Yes,
Teacher Frank, meron ako nakita dito.
Yes. Ay, basahin natin. Gusto ko lang mag-comment na. Sir Jambi, ano yan classic yan sa Facebook, no? Parang ano yan, yung nag-asa yung mag-like sa mga poster contest. Kasi hindi ka na banalitaan, no, kung nanalo ba yung nilike mo na.
Oo.
Di ba yan? Ganyan yung context na. So, don't be like that, teachers, no? So, ipaalam natin ano nangyari dun sa evaluation or sa data natin. So, maganda tong tanong na to. Ano natin, no? I-post natin. Ay, natakpan sa ano. Basahin ko na lang. From Teacher Waban. No? Could you please show the difference between evaluation and assessment? Meron ba tayong particular answer dyan, Teacher Pao? Bilang ikaw ang nag-report ng grad studies kanina.
Sabi ko nga kanina, ano to, Edre? Edre course. Hindi, actually, it's mahabang discussion yan if you are teachers. Okay, I'm gonna speak in English so that I can properly address Sir Muhammad Waban. When you talk about assessment, there is again, I'm not a master of the difference between the two, but all I know is that after you do an evaluation, there is some value to it. When you talk about assessment, it is more of getting information or feedback on what else has to be improved before an achievement. I think the difference between assessment and evaluation greatly concerns the tests being constructed by teachers, no? Because the assessment informs the teacher regarding the current status of learning, what can still be done, so that learning can still progress. While when you are doing evaluation, it's already a feedback on the achievement of the student. So basically, that's for the examination. No, so it's the purpose. The purpose. Yep. There. Teacher Franco.
Essentially, no, may overlap yung concepts din. Because essentially, when you are
30 minutes nakamute.
when you are assessing, you're essentially evaluating, no? Okay? Pero si evaluation, meron siyang mas ano siya, no? Yung for example, if you're talking about a program, okay? You're evaluating the program's effectivity. So natapos mo na yung program, na-implement mo na, no? Okay? Assessment is more on hindi naman laging micro scale, no? Pero in a micro scale, you are trying to assess, no? For example, learning goals, achievement of learning goals all throughout the program. So ano siya. And kaya nga meron ka rin tinatawag, for example, na formative assessments. Okay? Kasi ginagamit mo yung data mo in order to further improve assessments, instruction, and the overall approach to education.
Yep. Correct. Okay. Sir Franco, there's a question here a while ago regarding certificates. If you are not able to put your name, how can you be able to get the certificate? Kasi nga evaluation tool yung binigay mo. So, ngayon, hindi ka ng pangalan. Pero again, so i-inform po namin kayo, the purpose of the evaluation tool, we actually are not very particular with knowing where the evaluation tool came from. The purpose of getting your name is so that we can prepare your certificates properly. Pero other than that, it will not be tied to any of your responses to the evaluation that you are answering under kaagapay. So kaya lang po natin kinukuha yon for the purposes na maisulat talaga namin yung names ninyo sa evaluation tool. But your responses are not tied to your names. Ayun.
Hindi pa naman tayo nagbebenta ng information. Totoo lang, no? Kung gusto po namin gawin yan, napakadami na po namin. Massive.
Malaking negosyo yun.
Oo, totoo yan. Pero we're not going to do that. No? Teachers, we respect your data privacy. So we do not
is the new
use...
goal.
Yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay, so meron pang actually question, I think, pero nasagot naman na natin siya kanina. Yun nga. It depends on the purpose, whether it falls under an evaluation or an assessment. But I said, hindi sobrang clear yun, no? Clear-cut yung difference nila. Okay, so admins, any last words? Okay, or reminders na lang, no? Huwag po ating kakalimutan ang last installment, no, of our May series. Sir Jambi, would you like to do the honor?
Sure, ayan.
Masabi na magpo-promote na naman ako. Kasi pag in-announce ko yan, mas mataas yung boses ko dun sa isa, tapos parang nag-fade ako dun sa kabila. Yes.
Yeah, sige, para wala pong halong bias. Ayan. Pag po kayo mawawala next Saturday sa last na webinar ng kaagapay, kasi after po Saturday, wala na pong matitirahan si Sir Franco. Kidding aside, please do join us in the final final serving of the May series of your Kaagapay Teacher Supports Weekend webinars, where hindi naman po natin ipipit against each other, pero we want to see them side by side. Diba? Yung Google and yung Microsoft in our various needs sa mga iba't ibang practical na pangangailangan ng mga tao, lalo na ng teachers and ng students, at sa mga kailangan na skills daw natin for the 21st century. So wag po kayo mag-alala, baka natatakot na sila, naku, baka ano yun, baka 24 hours na webinar, magtuturo lahat ng Google tsaka Microsoft. Hindi po. Yeah, so medyo siya, we'll give situations or we'll give concepts, and then they talk it out kung ano yung may offer ni Google, ano yung may offer ni Microsoft. And kayo na po ang bahalang pumili. You can choose one over the other. You can actually dabble into both if you want. Pero ultimately, pili po kayo ng magiging beneficial for you and your students. Oh, walang kabias-bias yan, Sir Frank.
Yes, oo. Para fair, no? Kasi next time pa ako magpo-promote eh.
Hindi ko naman
sabihin na may, di ba? Oh. Ayoko sabihin na may free t-shirt pag Team Franco.
Wow!
Anyway, teachers na again, maraming salamat.
Check niya ba yung evaluation link? Baka humihingi ng ng site si Sir Franco, ha?
Ano na yun? Meron na doon nakalagay, Team Franco or Team Jinky. Tapos, unclickable yung Team Jinky. Hindi mo siya makiklik. Oo. Kahit anong gawin mo. Pag clinic mo yun, ibabalik ka ulit doon sa form. Are you sure? Check again. Ganun. So, hindi natatapos unless i-select mo yung Team Franco. Yes. Ayun, we're an expert sa sa Google Form. So, alam natin yan. Okay, so again, Sir Jello, something to say or to add? Baka meron ka pang insights or anything?
Okay na ako. Kumbaga, yun lang, let's use the evaluation for us to improve further our this coming school year. And if ever there are things that we still fail on, it's okay. Fail forward. Hindi naman po, our aim should not be the perfection of everything, but to progress, to become better educators for our students, to be better teachers, to be better administrators, to be better parents to our students. Yun.
Again, teachers, maraming salamat for this afternoon. We'll see you on Saturday po for our last installment of our May series. Thank you, teachers. Have a great afternoon.